Chapter 690. As soon as he said that, the three of them felt their hearts tighten. They didn't expect Ghost Emperor Tsang Yuan to have such a trump card. This old man's cultivation isn't as good as the other Dao masters, but he's much more meticulous. I don't think Li Sangtian and Yu Su would have such a trump card. If they die, they will really die. Then it's useless even if we killed the Ghost Emperor. However, we let him go just like that. Sigh. Gui Rely and Little Master said one after another. Lin Yu smiled. Remember, since you have the intention to kill, there's no turning back. Either you wait for the opponent to kill you, or you seize the opportunity to turn the opponent into ashes. A calm but incomparably cold voice sounded. While everyone was still in shock, they saw a scarlet line of blood on Lin Yu's palm. Could this be? Gui Rulei's eyesight was better than Dishur and Little Master. He immediately saw through the clues in Lin Yu's palm. Ancient secret technique, blood sacrifice, heart refinement. Ancient secret technique, blood sacrifice, heart refinement? Dishur and Little Master looked at each other. They had never heard of it before. Lord Buddha's eyesight is sharp. I can't hide it from you, Lin Yu praised. However, how could Lord Buddha care about this praise? He was more surprised that Lin Yu knew such an ancient secret technique. Wait, according to the legend, the person who has the blood sacrifice heart refinement can be detonated by the user at any time. Sectmaster, is this true? Gui Rely asked again. Seeing Lin Yu nod, he immediately understood. This old man understands. This old man understands. Sectmaster is wise. Ancestor, what does Sectmaster mean? Why can't I understand? Little Master asked. Dishur rubbed his chin. He seemed to understand, but he wasn't sure. Gui Rely smiled. Sectmaster wants to catch all of us in one fell swoop. Just now, Ghost Emperor was so arrogant, but Sectmaster could endure and let him go. You even thought of a follow-up plan. This is really admirable. After saying that, Gui Rely clasped his fists at Lin Yu. In terms of martial arts talent, he had yet to see through Lin Yu. However, there were far too many geniuses in this world who possessed innate martial arts talents. But, compared to scheming, Gui Rely still felt that scheming was more important. Just like him back then, he wasn't too stupid to fall into Yu Su and Wu Zhong's trap. In Gui Rely's opinion, Lin Yu's strategy was already the best in Sky Desert. Perhaps only the Jadefall Dao Lord had the strength to fight him. Dishur clapped his hands. Sectmaster wants to wait for the Ghost Emperors to return to the Tsang Yuan Dao world and capture them all in one fell swoop, before using their blood as a sacrifice to refine their hearts? I see. Little Master also understood. However, when the three of them looked at Lin Yu, he felt that it was about time. He immediately looked at the scarlet bloodline in his hand. This bloodline symbolized the Ghost Emperor's life. When Lin Yu patted the Ghost Emperor's shoulder, the blood sacrificial heart had already been injected into the Ghost Emperor's body. Even if the other party was scheming and astute, he couldn't care too much in the moment of life and death. Lin Yu believed that the Ghost Emperor wouldn't notice such a subtle movement. Moreover, the blood sacrificial heart was invisible after being injected into the body. It was impossible to detect it. Then it's over. Lin Yu spoke slowly as he crushed the blood sacrificial heart in his hand. At the same time, in the Tsang Yuan Dao world, a terrifying aura suddenly returned. My doppelgangers are still here. As long as I have these doppelgangers, I won't be afraid even if I die outside. The Ghost Emperor looked at the puppets below Tsang Yuan with satisfaction. There were a total of 72 of them, all of which he had refined with the best materials. As long as one of them was still around, even if his physical body died, he could still be revived. Damn Lin Yu. After I recultivate for 100 years, I will definitely send you to the Yellow Springs. Tsang Yuan laughed loudly, feeling that his future was promising. After knowing how terrifying Lin Yu was, he would be more prepared and cautious next time. He felt that he had a chance to take revenge. However, in the next moment, the Ghost Emperor's expression changed drastically. What is this? He saw a scarlet bloodline at the position of his heart. He didn't know when it had appeared there. Blood sacrificial heart. This mystic technique was recorded in the ancient books of the Feng Dao world. How could the Ghost Emperor not know what it was? Damn it, damn it. When was it attacked? The Ghost Emperor's back was drenched in cold sweat as he frantically tried to dig out the blood-sacrificial heart in his heart. Even though he was drenched in blood and felt intense pain, the Ghost Emperor still dug without any desire to stop. His physical body could die and be injured, but the blood-sacrificial heart would detonate his spiritual force and allow it to drill through his entire body and lock onto his spiritual force. Then he would be dead. Oh no, Lin Yu deliberately made me come back. The Ghost Emperor finally understood, but it was too late. I'm not willing to accept this. He roared and burned all his cultivation, wanting to send one of the doppelgangers away. However, once the blood-sacrificial heart was activated, his cultivation was immediately sealed and gathered at his heart. Lin Yu, I was wrong. I really know my mistake this time. A violent energy that seemed to be compressed to the extreme suddenly exploded. Boom! Boom! A loud sound reverberated throughout the Tsang Abyss Dao world. It was so loud that it was comparable to the battle between the demon beastmen and humans thousands of miles away. The Tsang Abyss Dao world collapsed, and countless huge rocks fell and shattered when the Ghost Emperor was detonated. No one heard the Ghost Emperor's final regret, as it was useless. Anyone who offended Lin Yu, or rather, anyone that Lin Yu wanted to kill, could not live for long. Before the 72 doppelgangers could escape, they were destroyed by the explosion of the balanced arch realm. Not even an arm was left. Outside the abyss of despair, Lin Yu calmly watched the blood-sacrificial heart in his hand turn into a wisp of green smoke. He didn't say anything, but the three people in front of him had already swallowed their saliva and were extremely shocked. They knew that the battle was over. In just a few breaths, the Tsang Abyss Ghost Emperor was probably dead. Sect Master. Little Master still couldn't believe it and asked again. Dishur and Gue Rulai also looked at Lin Yu. He should be dead, Lin Yu said calmly. Without saying anything else, he turned and walked to the nine-colored egg. At this moment, the nine-colored egg was enveloped by a powerful demonic aura. This demonic aura had a huge impact on humans, or else it wouldn't have been able to injure the nine Purgatory Dao Master. However, as the nine-colored egg's aura continued to expand, Lin Yu knew that it was the nine-colored egg absorbing the demonic aura. This is your place of creation. Lin Yu smiled faintly and said to Dao Jun and the other two, I still need to stay here for a while. I have two tasks for you. Please speak, Sect Master. The three of them looked at each other and answered in unison. Dishur, go to the Tsangling Dao world and ask Zhang Wuliang of the Vast Moon Dynasty if he allows Zhang Qingxue to join the Fangyi Dao world. Yes. Dishur bowed and left without saying anything else. Senior Dao Jun, Little Master, go back with the people from the Killing Heart Palace and guard the Fangyi Dao world. Chapter 691. Defend Fangyi. Little Buddha and Gue Rulai's hearts tightened. Was the Fangyi Dao realm about to face a calamity? I'm just taking precautions. Lin Yu explained, today we killed a few Dao Masters. Nine Nether will definitely complain to Dao Master Azure Heaven. If Yamato Kitagarbha defeats Zhou Yingtian, he might point his spear at the Fangyi Dao realm. The two of them immediately understood. Sect Master, you're here. Gue Rulai still looked worried. Wouldn't it be more dangerous for Lin Yu to be here alone? This was the Despair Abyss, the human clan's forbidden land, and the myriad Beast War Emperor's territory. It's all right. Lin Yu smiled faintly. If Zhou Yingtian wins, he won't return to the Despair Abyss for a while. He will probably destroy Yamato's lair directly. If Zhou Yingtian loses, I can give him hope when he returns. Lin Yu touched his egg and smiled satisfactorily. Zhou Yingtian won't reject such a dense demonic qi. The corner of his mouth curled up, showing his strong confidence. Even the old senior Gue Rulai was stunned. Lin Yu seemed to be playing it down, but he was scheming against the myriad Beast War Emperor. In the Sky Desert universe, ever since the Zither Emperor fell, the myriad Beast War Emperor had merged with the power of 10,000 demon beasts and was now the strongest existence. Go! Lin Yu waved his hand. The two of them did not stay for long. Take care, Sectmaster. We'll definitely guard the Feng Eve Dao realm well. After the vast abyss was destroyed, the remaining survivors kept dying in the great battle. Nai Nether was seriously injured, and many people in his Dao realm had died. The infinite Dao realm had lost Li Sangtian and the murderous Heart Palace, which had been established for 10,000 years. Their combat power could not compete with the Demon Beast army. Only the Azure Heaven, Heavenly Yin, Songling, Xianghua, and Xuandu Dao realms still had combat power. However, they would not be able to hold on for long. I didn't expect the demon beasts of the Despair Abyss to be so powerful. After being sealed for 10,000 years, the human race of the Fengyi Dao world has gradually declined. However, under the resonance of the demonic qi, the combat strength of these demonic beasts has increased by leaps and bounds. As long as we can take down Zhou Yingtian, this army will naturally not be our match. The Dao Masters spoke one after another. Where are the other Dao Lords at such an important moment? As she spoke, she looked at the Dao Lord of Jadefall. Clearly, she was questioning him. Dao Master Songling saw with his own eyes that Big Harmony had transferred his men away. I will arrange for them to cut off Zhou Yingtian's escape route, Yamato said righteously. Songling was stunned. We can't even fight him head-on. Why are we blocking his retreat? This was clearly a foolish strategy. Yamato, is that all you've got? At the very top of the demonic beast army, there was a huge demonic god with 3 horns on his head. His arms hung down like long apes, and his entire body was covered with dark and strong skin. At this moment, Zhou Yingtian's cold voice sounded out. The situation was already on his side. If the Zither Emperor was still here, how could you demonic beasts be so rash? Dao Master Lu Yoqi snorted coldly. He had already put away his frivolous smile. Facing Zhou Yingtian, who was a great emperor with 9 Dao equilibrium, he had no choice but to be serious. The Zither Emperor. If that existence was still here, I might not dare to leave the Despair Abyss. Zhou Yingtian's eyes were filled with reminiscence. Even though the human race and the demonic beasts were at odds, he still couldn't help but respect the Zither Emperor from the bottom of his heart. Even though I have entered the great Emperor realm with 9 Dao equilibrium, I still feel that I am no match for the Zither Emperor. After sighing for a while, Zhou Yingtian laughed and pointed at Yamato. Unfortunately, he died under the jealousy of you humans. Humans are truly the most terrifying demonic beasts. Impudent. Xiandu, Qianghua, and the others immediately shouted in anger. As for Yamato, he only spread out his hands. Zhou Yingtian, I will go further than the Zither Emperor. The hero in your eyes is destined to only be a stepping stone for me to reach the peak. If the Zither Emperor is a stepping stone, you will have to wait until you surpass him. This time, it wasn't Zhou Yingtian who spoke, but the heaven-spilled Dao Master, Lu Yoqi. His old face was gloomy and his aura was somewhat chaotic. The battle with the 10,000 Beast War Emperor had obviously affected some of his injuries. What a joke. I am younger than the Zither Emperor, so I naturally have a chance to surpass him. You, on the other hand. Yamato didn't hold back. Now that the situation was like this, he didn't seem to want to say those words. Lu Yoqi, your time is almost up, right? What nonsense are you talking about? Dao Master Songling immediately scolded. However, before Lu Yoqi could respond, he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Qianghua, Xiandu, what are you doing? Dao Master Songling's expression changed drastically. He actually saw Qianghua and Xiandu, who were standing behind Lu Yoqi, sneak attacking Lu Yoqi. Lu Yoqi was first injured, then pressured by the 10,000 Beast War Emperor and Yamato. He didn't react in time and was hit by a palm. There were 2 wounds on his back. The other wound was caused by a black iron sword, which was the strongest emperor artifact of Dao Master Qianghua. This old man is your master. Lu Yoqi clenched his teeth. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that the 2 disciples he had personally taught would attack him. He suddenly remembered Lin Yu's warning. However, even though Lin Yu had warned him, he had still been careless. Master, You're old and useless. Tao Master Cheong Hua licked the blood on her sword. Her charming face was filled with mockery and ridicule. This disciple didn't expect that I would be able to successfully stab Master. In the past, I wouldn't even dare to think about it. I also hit Master with my palm, and I even used 100% of my strength. Tao Master Xian Du crossed his arms in front of him. His gaze was cold. Master, I wonder if you're satisfied with this disciple's attack? You're crazy. Song Ling roared and retreated with Lu Youqi. We're facing a great enemy. What are you doing? The great enemy will be dealt with by the commander. What we need to do is deal with you. Tao Master Cheong Hua smiled again. On the other side, Zhou Yingtian saw everything. However, he was more concerned about the arrival of that terrifying power in the Sky Desert universe. Zhou Yingtian, you've improved too quickly. Therefore, your fate will be the same as the Zither Emperor's. Yamato spread his hands. Eternal immortal of heaven, I swear on my 3 souls and 7 spirits to be your eternal servant. Now, please bestow upon me supreme power. The violent power increased once again. The power of the supreme. The power of laws. The will of supreme. The will of equalization. The power that descended seemed to contain all the laws of this universe. It caused Yamato's aura to soar. An existence above the Sky Desert. Zhou Yingtian narrowed his eyes as he watched the power surge into Yamato's body. How could he not understand what was happening? So that's how it is. So that's how the Zither Emperor was eliminated? Chapter 692. Haha, I didn't expect that I would reach the Zither Emperor's level. You puppet who sold your soul to Tian Mo, I should thank you. Demonic chi filled the sky as the myriad beast war emperor unleashed his full strength. His huge body collided with the despair abyss. Lin Yu thought about the aura that came from the despair abyss when the demonic chi gathered. Zhou Yingtian and the demonic beast army are definitely not here. What is the aura inside? Lin Yu gently pushed the 9-colored egg into the despair abyss with him. This was a forbidden area for humans. There was a natural barrier outside. If not for that, 9 Nether and the others would have already sneaked in. And now, this barrier was blocking in front of Lin Yu. He didn't move. The 9-colored egg had already floated above the barrier. In the next moment, the powerful demonic chi merged with the barrier. The barrier that separated the human race from the demonic beasts actually had a huge hole visible to the naked eye. The 9-colored egg floated, and Lin Yu slowly stepped in. The moment he entered, the demonic chi increased by 100 times. However, a ray of light appeared in the 9-colored egg again, enveloping Lin Yu. Demonic chi couldn't invade. Lin Yu looked around, looking for the place with the densest demonic chi. That was also where the aura had appeared. However, the 9-colored egg had already floated in before him. Your senses are faster than mine. Lin Yu smiled faintly and followed. The barrier behind him closed on its own. There was no ripple outside the despair abyss, as if no one had come here. Lin Yu also used the Medicine Emperor's Emperor Fire to burn the place where the battle had just taken place, erasing all traces, just in case. Inside the despair abyss, the demonic chi stirred up fierce winds. The countless winds were like sharp blades. The demonic beast skin was much harder than humans and could withstand these wind blades. However, for humans, if their bodies were weaker, they would have been killed by these wind blades. Lin Yu and the 9-colored egg approached parallel to each other. There were no living creatures here. Even though they were very deep, they still didn't see any demonic beasts. It was empty. However, the 9-colored egg's reaction made Lin Yu certain that there was something inside. Below us is the lightning pool. I wonder where it leads to. Lin Yu stared downwards. Back then, when he was trapped here, he was merely immortal. Hence, he had no way to enter the depths of the lightning pool. The thickness of the lightning pool is at least 30 million feet. Lin Yu narrowed his eyes and made a rough assessment. A 30 million foot thunder pool with such a terrifying strength seemed to be the same thing inside the abyss of despair. Heavenly tribulation. If this is the origin of the heavenly tribulation, then isn't this the highest place in the desert? Lin Yu blinked and found it strange. The abyss of despair is located below the 10 directions Tao realm. It should be the lowest realm, but it has such a large amount of tribulation lightning. The beginning is the end. He had once discussed the Tao with the incarnation of a nirvana fruit under the Tao River on the primordial continent. The beginning is the end, and the end is also the beginning. At that time, the nirvana fruit had brought him and Demon Lord Rahu on a wooden boat. However, after circling around, the two of them had returned to the beginning. Recalling the past, Lin Yu's eyes suddenly had an epiphany. The beginning can be the end. The abyss can also be the sky. True and false, yin and yang in the universe. His breathing quickened. Suddenly, the stone walls around the lightning pool slowly peeled off, revealing thousands of totems carved on the stone walls. The overlord of the sky, the six-winged divine king, the 10,000 demons of the realm sea, the immovable wisdom king, the 9 nether halcyon, the earth beast, the Orochi Shangliu. Lin Yu suddenly looked over. Above these totems were great demons that had long disappeared from this world. Great demons from ancient times? Lin Yu smiled. The black feathers in his body vibrated on their own. It seems that the aura just now came from them. The 9-colored egg slowly rotated among the great demon totems. This was the place where the demonic chi in the abyss of despair was the densest. Lin Yu could already feel the excitement within the 9-colored egg. Just as he was gathering the demonic chi, streams of light swam over the totems. Even if it's just a totem, it still has a trace of life aura. Is this the vitality of the great demons of heaven and earth? Lin Yu found it interesting. The 9-colored egg was absorbing the demonic chi in streams of light. The aura was so strong that even Lin Yu was shocked. If I were to face 9 Underworld again, I would probably be able to kill him. Lin Yu smiled faintly. The black feather's voice sounded. It's the reaction of the main body. His voice was a little heavy and lacked the ethereal feeling from before. Lin Yu looked over and felt that the black feathers were locking onto the overlord of the skies totem. Six-winged divine king. Lin Yu muttered as he sized up the six-winged divine king. Human form. It did not have a face. It was as if the totem was not referring to a real person, but a realm. The realm of the skies, overlord. The ancient demonic beast, the 8-winged demon emperor python, has 8 wings as the standard of combat strength. I reckon the 6-winged divine king is also a standard of combat strength. Lin Yu judged. Black Feather's voice sounded in agreement. The sky god race has extraordinary wings, unparalleled 4-winged, and 6-winged is the strongest. There can't be another 8-winged one, right? Lin Yu smiled, but Black Feathers denied it. No, I still have some memories of that time. A 6-winged divine king's combat strength can reach the standard of a divine king. 6-winged. Lin Yu looked at the divine king's totem. For some reason, he had a feeling that he might have seen the 6-winged divine king before. He gave Lin Yu a sense of familiarity. I got it. Just as Black Feathers was lost, Lin Yu suddenly clapped his hands, his eyes filled with understanding. You got it. Black Feather's voice was shocking as it sounded in Lin Yu's mind. Yes, look here. Lin Yu pointed at the corner of the 6-winged divine king's totem. There, due to the flapping of the 6-winged wings, some feathers seemed to have scattered. Lin Yu pointed at one of them. You should be one of the feathers that the 6-winged divine king dropped. Impudent. Black wings burst out from Lin Yu's back, reaching a length of 3 zhang. He heard Black Feather's voice. How can you tell that I'm just a feather? You've developed now. Weren't you just a feather in the beginning? Lin Yu said again, recalling the process of subduing black feathers in the demon cave. Speaking of which, you still owe me a nirvana fruit. Also, you should pay me some rent, right? Just as he finished speaking, the black wings dissipated and disappeared. No matter how Lin Yu called, Black Feathers did not speak. You must be a feather of the 6-winged divine king. Lin Yu said in a deep voice, but Black Feathers still did not respond. It was unknown if he did not resist or if he was afraid of being chased by Lin Yu and was hiding. Forget it. After I go up to Sky Desert and have a showdown with that bastard, I'll look for your main body. Lin Yu smiled faintly. He was sure that a totem with such a powerful aura meant that the six-winged divine king definitely still existed. Chapter 693. However, the Sky Desert universe definitely didn't have one. Otherwise, an ancient demon that had been the overlord of the universe for millions of years would probably be able to break through the Sky Desert universe. Heiyu didn't speak, and the nine-colored egg continued to absorb. Lin Yu was wondering if he should take a break when a huge shadow suddenly appeared outside the abyss of despair and smashed into the barrier. Rumble. The loud sound broke Lin Yu's desire to rest. It seems like the Wanshou Huang has come to a conclusion. Lin Yu was sure that the Wanshou Huang had lost this time. It was just as he had guessed. If Zhou Yingtian had won, he would have gone to destroy he's Azure Dao world and wouldn't have returned so quickly. The fact that he could fight his way here meant that the Wanshou Huang had lost and ran back home. Lin Yu stepped into the air and approached the outer circle of the abyss of despair. The nine-colored egg's protective shield followed him, ensuring that Lin Yu wouldn't be affected by the demon aura in the abyss of despair. You scum of the Sky Desert. Lin Yu had just approached the outer circle when he heard a thunderous roar. The one who had smashed into the barrier was the Wanshou Huang, Zhou Yingtian. He really was beaten back. Lin Yu smiled and decided to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. In front of Zhou Yingtian, Lin Yu saw He. Right now, Yamato's entire body was filled with power, divine power. At this moment, he was like a god of this world, the pinnacle of the Emperor of Balance Realm. Lin Yu even felt that He's current strength was beyond the Emperor of Balance Realm. Did he break through? Lin Yu frowned. If He really broke through, wouldn't he be finished? Those who obey the heavens prosper. Those who defy the heavens perish. Yamato raised his hands and laughed loudly. Zhou Yingtian, you and I have fought for 10,000 years, yet you are still stubborn. Today, this seat will give you a chance. If you submit to me and are willing to be my mount, this seat can spare your life. When had the Beast War Emperor ever suffered such humiliation? Even if I die, I won't die in your hands. I didn't lose to you. I lost to Tian Mo. Don't be so smug. The winner takes all. How dare you still be so stubborn? Yamato sneered, his eyes filled with killing intent. Yamato, let's fight to the death. You don't have much time left. Why force yourself? Yamato was disdainful. However, just as he was about to attack, the barrier to the abyss of despair opened once again. The Beast War Emperor's gigantic body had already entered the abyss. The barrier was quickly closed. At the same time, Lin Yu saw two figures rushing in. Tian Yin Lu Yu Qi, Sect Master Tsong Ling. Why were these two people here? Lin Yu frowned. He quickly approached the two and saw that they were severely injured. Dao Master Tsong Ling could still survive. However, Lu Yu Qi's injuries were severe. His internal organs were damaged, his back was heavily injured, and his cultivation was constantly slipping away. Coupled with Lu Yu Qi's age, he probably didn't have much time left. Lin Yu's expression was calm as he brought the two of them to a safe place at the edge of the abyss. Zhou Yingtian also used his last bit of strength to close the barrier completely. Outside, Yamato wanted to attack again. However, Xianghua, Xindu, and Nine Nether Master were standing on him. How could Lin Yu not understand that Xianghua and Xindu had betrayed Lu Yu Qi? These two ingrates sneak-attacked Senior Lu. Dao Master Tsong Ling wanted to explain, but was interrupted by Lin Yu. I roughly understand. Let's hide first. The three of them left the battlefield. Lin Yu estimated that the War Emperor was at the end of his rope. If Yamato really attacked the abyss of despair in his current state, this was probably not a place to stay for long. At that time, the only safe place left would be the Yi-Dao world below. However, outside the abyss of despair, when Yamato wanted to attack again, his aura suddenly weakened. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. The flames on his body were retracted. The sacred light that surpassed the great Emperor of Balance also dissipated. This is my limit. Yamato gritted his teeth. Just a little more. Damn it. If he had another breath of time, he was confident that he could break through the barrier of the abyss of despair and kill the War Emperor. However, his time was up. To be more precise, his body could no longer withstand such a huge force. After all, he had borrowed that force. Commander, we can't break in. Cheong Hua held her sword and frowned. When the human race and the monster race were at war, this barrier protected the abyss of despair for 10,000 years. The human race couldn't break in. Could it be that we have to stop here today? Commander, you have great talent and strategy. How can you be like the previous human leaders? Commander, please give the order. Xiandu cackled. His laughter was even more shameless and despicable than Lu Youqi's. Let's wait a little longer. Yamato looked at the barrier. Within 10 years, he couldn't use the power he borrowed to break this barrier. However, there was one thing. Zhou Yingtian doesn't have much time left. This barrier was formed by him and the abyss of despair's demonic aura. Although we can't break in, it's the same if Zhou Yingtian dies. Yamato's gaze fell on Tian Yin and Tsang Ling, who were hiding together. Pass down my imperial order. The Sky Spill Dao World, Tsang Ling Dao World, and Feng Yi Dao World have colluded with the War Emperor of 10,000 Beasts, Zhou Yingtian, to disrupt the order of the human race. Starting today, all living beings in the 3 Dao worlds will be killed. The voice sounded ruthless and cold. Kill all living beings in the 3 Dao worlds. Even Xianghua and Xiandu, who had betrayed Lu Youqi, couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. When an ordinary man was angry, blood would splatter 100 steps. When an emperor was angry, thousands of corpses would fall. This was the anger of an emperor. The current Azure Heaven Day was the true emperor of the Sky Desert universe. The two of them knew that this time, Yamato wouldn't even let the mortal women and children off. He had always been one to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. He didn't dare stay any longer and went down to slaughter. Azure Heaven, Xianghua, Xuandu, and 9 underworlds. The remaining armies of the 4 Dao worlds began to attack the other Dao worlds. The first to suffer was the Sky Spilled Dao world, which had the greatest hidden danger. It was a pity that the people of the Heaven Flow Dao world did not understand until their deaths why their eldest senior brother and eldest senior sister, the 2 proudest disciples of the Dao Master, Xiandu and Xianghua, whom they were proud of, would personally annihilate their entire clan. Billions of living beings were killed one after another. The stench of blood gradually filled the Dao world. The killing didn't stop. Yamato guarded outside the abyss of despair to heal his injuries and prevent anyone from coming out. He wanted to trap Zhou Yingtian and the Sky Spilled Dao Master. Commander, 30% of the Sky Spilled Dao world has died. A total of 753. 2 billion people have died. Continue. Yamato said. The deaths of these people weren't even qualified to make him stop healing and open his eyes. Chapter 694. Inside the Despair Abyss. Lu Youqi's injuries were severe, but Songling's injuries were slightly better. Found you. The Beast War Emperor's voice was heard. You're not from Yamato. Lin Yu and the other 2 turned around and saw the Beast War Emperor's huge figure appear in front of them. His eyes were bigger than them, and his gaze fell on Lin Yu. The protective shield on your body. Indeed, that egg is yours. The 9-colored egg was discovered by the Beast War Emperor. However, Lin Yu smiled. It's mine. You didn't hurt it. Looks like we can continue our discussion. How do you know I didn't hurt your egg? The Beast War Emperor asked. Your egg is absorbing the demonic aura in the Despair Abyss. I can destroy it immediately, but you didn't do so. Maybe it's because you can't do it? Lin Yu probed. Song Ling and the dying Lu Youqi behind him felt their heartbeats quicken. They looked nervous. Even at their peak, they could only lose to the Beast War Emperor. Moreover, they were not even 1,000th of their peak state. In this Despair Abyss, there's nothing I can't do. The 10,000 Beast War Emperor angrily rebuked Lin Yu. Brat, take your people and scram. I can spare your lives. That's strange. You didn't kill us and let us go. Moreover, Lin Yu smiled faintly. He didn't seem nervous like Tian Yin and Songling, moreover, you seem to want to keep my egg. I'm already being merciful by not killing you. Get lost now. I don't want to be here either. Unfortunately, your nemesis, Yamato, is guarding outside. How do you expect us to get out? Lin Yu spread his hands and probed again. Or is there another way out? Whether you die or not has nothing to do with me. The Beast War Emperor said, if I die, the 9-colored egg won't stay here. He might even kill you. The corner of Lin Yu's mouth rose as he warned. No one understood his warning. Even Song Ling and Tian Yan's hearts skipped a beat. Was this kid crazy? Was he using a demon egg to warn the One Beast's War Emperor? You think too highly of that egg. The 10,000 Beasts War Emperor laughed, and the abyss of despair shook. However, before he could say anything, a violent pressure came from the place where the demonic energy in the abyss of despair gathered. It was a warning. It was a warning from 9-colored egg. This pressure made the myriad Beast War Emperor's face turn grave. He only listens to you? The War Emperor looked away from the 9-colored egg and turned to Lin Yu. Yes. Upon hearing Lin Yu's solemn reply, the War Emperor took a deep breath and said, forget it. I will leave you here. It is also a humiliation to the human race that the Tao Master of the human race died in the despair abyss. Hearing this, Tian Yin and Song Ling's old faces turned red, and they were unable to say anything. My heaven-flowed Tao world. Dai, Qianghua, Xuandu, you deserve to die. Lu Youqi suddenly cried and roared. He was the heaven-flow Tao Master, and he could feel that countless living beings in the heaven-flow Tao world were being killed. Dai is not even letting mortals go. Dai is crazy. Tao Master Song Ling could not believe it, and his face was full of fear. The first was the heaven-flow Tao world, and the next one could be the Song Ling Tao world or even the Fong Yi Tao world. Lin Yu. Tao Master Song Ling looked at Lin Yu for help. Do you have a way? Lin Yu was examining Lu Youqi's injuries and said casually, I've already informed my disciple. As for whether he can take everyone from the Song Ling Tao world away, it depends on whether they will leave. Tao Master Song Ling immediately bowed deeply to Lin Yu. Thank you. The Song Ling Tao world will remember this great kindness. You are too polite, Lin Yu replied casually. He pressed one hand on Lu Youqi's hand, and the space-time value slowly rotated. The power of space-time reversal appeared on Lu Youqi's body. Sensing the changes in his body, Lu Youqi, who was in grief, was shocked and looked at Lin Yu in disbelief. No, he suddenly interrupted Lin Yu. Lin Yu was taken aback, but then he thought of something. Is it because of the people from the heaven-flowed Tao world? Lin Yu asked. Lu Youqi nodded, and the grief on his face deepened. I don't have the face to continue living. Child, you have amazing abilities. Don't waste your opportunity on me. Hearing this, Lin Yu released his hand. He understood. There was no greater sorrow than a dead heart. Dai's motive for massacring the heaven-flowed Tao world was this. After all, Lu Youqi had been a Tao master for tens of thousands of years, and his feeling for the heaven-flowed Tao world were deeper than any other Tao masters. Now, Lu Youqi was bearing the infamy of colluding with the demon beast race and causing the people of the heaven-flowed Tao world to die in resentment. This blood feud was so deep that Lu Youqi could no longer restore his previous fighting spirit. That was how it was to destroy the heart before killing. I was wrong about my disciple, but I was right about you. Lin Yu, thank you. Lu Youqi felt better when he saw Lin Yu release his hand. Now, to him, living had become the greatest humiliation. Senior, you have seen through life and death. Lin Yu admires you. No, I'm just a coward. Your future is what this old man desires. Lu Youqi admired Lin Yu from the bottom of his heart. Senior Lu, Tao Master Song Ling's face was also ashen. She understood Lu Youqi's thoughts. However, if such a great helper left, who would be able to fight against the Azure Sky Tao Master in the future? Senior, perhaps after this battle, you can recomprehend the great Tao. Lin Yu suddenly said. Lu Youqi heard Lin Yu say a few more words. The beginning was also the end. Qian could be the sky or the earth. I understand. Liu Yoqi suddenly laughed. After I reincarnate, I will be able to fight against the thing behind Day. Giving up was also a relief. Lin Yu nodded and didn't continue speaking. Behind him, the myriad beast war emperor saw Liu Yoqi, who was about to pass away, and his aura weakened. The abyss of despair may give birth to a new hope. Lin Yu suddenly said to the myriad beast war emperor, "You have already failed twice. I think you know your current state better than anyone else. Do you still want to continue waiting?" The atmosphere was stiff for a long time. Liu Yoqi had already closed his eyes and didn't speak. Dao Master Song Ling couldn't do anything. She could only calm down and take out a large amount of glory bought to meditate and heal. "I didn't lose today." The myriad beast war emperor's voice sounded. Lin Yu nodded and smiled. "The Zither Emperor was stronger than you back then, but he still fell. There is something in this universe that doesn't allow you to break through to the balanced Great Emperor realm." Song Ling, Liu Yoqi, and the myriad beast war emperor were shocked. The three of them breathed heavily. Lin Yu continued, "You can treat him as the heavenly Tao, and Day is now the spokesperson of the heavenly Tao, his disciple." Chapter 695. Disciple. When we cultivate, we respect the rules of the heavenly Tao. The funny thing is that when we cultivate to the extreme, we will eventually die in the hands of the heavenly Tao. After hearing Lin Yu's words, the Beast War Emperor was enlightened. He shook his head in self-mockery and laughed. Cultivating the heavenly Tao and being killed by the heavenly Tao. The Zither Emperor is like this, and so am I. Ridiculous, ridiculous. His voice echoed in the abyss of despair. There was a hint of desolation in his voice, which echoed the dark environment here. The Beast War Emperor's injuries worsened. Fresh blood flowed out of his huge body. After listening, Liu Yoqi, who was about to reach the last moment, and Dao Master Song Ling, who was meditating, were also shrouded in a layer of fog. No matter how hard they worked and reached the peak of the Great Emperor realm, in the end, they would only end up like the Zither Emperor and the Beast War Emperor. There was only one way. That was to sell themselves to the heavenly Tao like the Azure Sky Tao Master. They didn't know how he had done it, but he had killed the Azure Sky Tao Master, the Zither Emperor, and now severely injured the Beast War Emperor twice. If what Lin Yu said was true, then he was carrying out the mission given to him by the existence above the heavenly desert. A disciple obeys his master. This was the value of a disciple. In exchange, perhaps Dahi's invincible power just now. He could borrow the power of the heavenly Tao to eradicate all enemies. The Beast War Emperor and the Zither Emperor were like this. 10,000 years ago, the Zither Emperor was also defeated by Dahi in that state. The Beast War Emperor asked. He was the supreme of the monster race for 10,000 years. Naturally, he could see that Lin Yu was unfathomable. This kid seemed to know a lot of secrets. Lin Yu shook his head. It's been too long. No one knows. But I think that if the heavenly desert hadn't made a move with Dahi's ability, even if the Azure Sky Tao world had turned out in full force, they wouldn't have been a match for the Zither Emperor. Moreover, at that time, the Tao world had 8 other emperors. Of course, the traitor Ghost Emperor didn't count. What's a traitor? The Beast War Emperor blinked, confused. That's not important. In short, the fall of the Zither Emperor is related to the heavenly Tao. Lin Yu spread out his hands and was too lazy to explain. The demonic aura storm was still growing stronger. This also meant that Lin Yu's 9-colored egg was growing at a terrifying speed. Lin Yu even had a feeling that once it hatched, its combat strength would definitely surpass the Beast War Emperor. But now, the 9-colored egg was still missing something. The War Emperor's injuries should be incurable, right? Lin Yu spoke slowly. His gaze was calm as he spoke such disrespectful words. However, he was the only one who had the right to say those words. Because the 9-colored egg belonged to Lin Yu. Listen carefully. In the past, the Beast War Emperor might have held on for a little longer. However, after experiencing the pressure of the 9-colored egg and the secret revealed by Lin Yu, the Beast War Emperor gave up. Just like Liu Yoqi, he seemed to have lost his will to fight after being beaten up. Indeed, I don't have much time left. The Beast War Emperor shook his head and looked at the barrier of the despair abyss. This barrier has protected my beast race for 10,000 years. Unfortunately, my beast race has been wiped out by Yamato. Lin Yu was silent and did not speak. The Beast War Emperor continued. I can only hold on for 10 years at most. After 10 years, this barrier will disappear. At that time, Yamato will come in and destroy everything here. He looked at Lin Yu, Lu Youqi, and the others. I believe that he will kill you too. That's right. He will definitely kill us. Lin Yu smiled faintly. So, there should be other exits here. There is, but I don't know if I can get out. The Beast War Emperor said, pointing to the endless thunder pool under the 9-colored egg. Legend has it that after passing through the thunder pool, you can leave this despair abyss. As for where you can go, I don't know. The Beast War Emperor said honestly, I won't be so bored as to go in there. Lin Yu laughed. Still pretending? He directly exposed the other party's lie. The demonic beasts have been trapped here for 10,000 years. If they could really pass through, they would have done so long ago. But the fact that the Battle Emperor is still here shows that the difficulty of passing through the lightning pool is even higher than you breaking through to the immortal Emperor realm. Kid, you're quite insightful. That's true. The All-Beast War Emperor closed his eyes and sat down on his throne. What awaited him was Yamato's death after 10 years. As for Lin Yu, after Lin Yu and the Beast War Emperor finished their conversation, Lin Yu slowly came up. Perhaps the Thunder Pool is the only way out now. Otherwise, we can wait 10 years before leaving. Lu Youqi looked worriedly at Lin Yu and Song Ling. The sky-spilled Dao world is gone, but your Dao world is still here. Can they last 10 years? His eyes were filled with grief. The billions of living beings in the sky-spilled Dao world should have all died at the hands of Yamato's army. That was an inhumane killing army. However, what Lu Youqi felt most pained about was that Yamato was still standing guard outside the abyss of despair. If that was the case, then the ones leading the killing army should be the 2 disciples that he had personally taught, Xuandu and Xianghua. His pride had now become 2 sharp blades that stabbed into the heart of this dying old man. Lin Yu, think of a way to survive. Lu Youqi grabbed Lin Yu's hand tightly. Even at this time, he could see that the young man's face was expressionless. This expression convinced Lu Youqi that if there was anyone who could stop Yamato, it could only be Lin Yu. I can't help you. Lu Youqi sighed. Suddenly, a ray of light erupted from his body. Deduction technique. I failed once. This time, I won't deduce that forbidden area. I should be able to do something for you, Lu Youqi said in a deep voice. Lu Youqi said in a deep voice, holding Lin Yu's hand even more tightly. The latter did not resist. He knew that this was Lu Youqi's last deduction in his 10,000 years of life. The light was so bright that Dao Master Song Ling could only take a few steps back and put some distance between them. On the other hand, countless karma lines appeared on Lin Yu's body again. The last time he had done a deduction for Lin Yu, Lu Youqi had been injured in his peak state. This time, Lu Youqi was deducing in his current state. Lin Yu was afraid that he would die just like that. You don't have to worry. I don't have much time left. Death might be my transcendence in this life. I understand, Lin Yu said calmly. After a long time, Lu Youqi let go of his hand. You were once in a life and death situation, but later, you weren't. Lu Youqi's first sentence was that Lin Yu had once used the space-time divine travel technique to transfer his karma of life and death to the puppet Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. Chapter 696. Since she is not in the karma, then the woman who once had a relationship with you is difficult to control with karma, especially since she is extraordinary and has something you left behind on her. Lu Youqi said the second sentence. Lin Yu's heart rippled. He understood that he was talking about Qin Yi. The life that Ksitigarbha arranged for him has failed. Lin Yu explained the cause and effect. After hearing this, Lu Youqi smiled and shook his head. Ksitigarbha is just a clone of the Ghost Emperor. How can he control so much? Your woman's strength is not limited by the karma of this world. nor is it controlled by Xitigarbha, and you are uncontrollable. Liu Yoqi's gaze became even more determined. I was worried that you would be controlled by the existence above the desert and become his slave forever. But now it seems that my worries were unnecessary. Lin Yu, you're the only uncontrollable person, the one who transcends karma. Your future can be different from that of the Zither Emperor, the 10,000 Beast War Emperor, and all of us. Liu Yoqi's words were heard by the 10,000 Beast War Emperor and Dao Master Songling. They looked at Lin Yu in surprise. The latter did not care about this at all because he had never doubted his own ability. What he cared more about now was that Liu Yoqi said that Qin Yi's karma was not controlled by Xitigarbha. Even the starry sky could not control her karma. He remembered that Xitigarbha said that Qin Yi would have a man to protect her in this life, and then live a peaceful life. After that was the awakening of the Empress. If karma failed, then something might happen to Qin Yi. Lin Yu stood up and looked for a teleportation array. This damned place doesn't even have a teleportation array. Lin Yu rubbed his eyebrows. On the day he was trapped, he remembered that he could not enter this place. He could only roughly know the location of the Abyss of Despair, and this was a forbidden area of the human race. Lin Yu did not want to enter at all at that time, but when he first came in, he realized that there was no teleportation array. What a lousy place. Lin Yu was in a difficult situation. The other three did not know what he was trying to do. They only saw Lin Yu circling around. Outside the sky was Yamato, so naturally he could not go out. And inside, there was only one way out. Lightning pool. What are you doing? Dao Master Songling was so frightened that he followed behind. He saw that Lin Yu had already walked to the lightning pool. Even the 10,000 Beast War Emperor couldn't pass through the lightning pool. You're just a heavenly sovereign. Entering this place is tantamount to suicide. Dao Master Songling's old eyes were filled with tears. He thought that Lin Yu had gone out to save the people from the two realms of the Great Path. Such boldness. He was indeed a young hero. However, she couldn't just watch Lin Yu throw his life away. Not to mention stopping to heat. Even if Lin Yu managed to cross the lightning pool and leave the despair abyss, Lin Yu might have already died halfway. It should be fine. I have other ways. Lin Yu judged that if he used space-time reset to constantly repair his body that was damaged by the lightning, he might be able to pass through. However, the consumption would be a little too great. At most, I'll just come up again if I fail. Lin Yu said. The lightning pool was unfathomable, and it was difficult to travel at full speed. He estimated that it would take a few years to get out. Lin Yu, let's think of another way. Dao Master Songling pulled Lin Yu. Senior Liu said that you're the last hope of the human race. You can't just throw your life away like this. Lin Yu's face twitched. He couldn't possibly tell him that he could rely on space-time reset to become immortal and indestructible, right? It's better than waiting for death here. Dao Master Songling, before I die, I want to see your real body. Lin Yu suddenly said. He remembered that on the day he was trapped, he once knew a secret of Dao Master Songling. That was in reality, Dao Master Songling did not look like this hunchbacked old woman. Why are you saying this now? Dao Master Songling's old face was stunned as she looked at Lin Yu in surprise. Could it be that the Zither Emperor told you? Indeed, the Zither Emperor loved you back then. Lin Yu nodded. These words made Dao Master Songling's heart tremble. What you said is true. Don't lie to me. Why would I lie to you? I'm the successor of the Zither Emperor. When he left the last wisp of his remnant soul in the flower-blooming heavens, he told me personally. Lin Yu smiled faintly. At that time, I didn't know how to feel, so I failed the first time I inherited the Zither Emperor. Later on, I understood that the Zither Emperor had feelings in his heart, and that person was you. Word by word, Songling slowly let go of Lin Yu's hand. Her breathing was extremely fast. There were very few things that could make a Dao master lose her composure. However, Lin Yu's words always worked. Zither Emperor, then why didn't he tell me until he died? Perhaps he knew that he had been targeted by the existence above the desert. Perhaps he felt that he wasn't worthy of you. Lin Yu shook his head and smiled bitterly. Since the situation has reached this point, We don't know if we can get out alive in the future. That's why I'm lucky to tell you this. It's been a long time, it's all in the past. Patting down Master Songling's shoulder, Lin Yu saw that her eyes were filled with tears. His words were half true and half false. He had only researched the matter of Dao Master Songling loving the Zither Emperor from various ancient books and different people's opinions. As for the Zither Emperor's thoughts, he did not tell Lin Yu. That was his nonsense. In any case, the Zither Emperor was already dead. There is nothing wrong with using a lie to satisfy this little fan of the Zither Emperor. After all, Lin Yu is a fan of doting. I've already brought the message. Can Dao Master still fulfill my last wish? This, Brother Zither Emperor, why didn't you tell me earlier? Dao Master Tsong Ling smiled bitterly. White light surged on her body and her figure slowly rose. Her original hunchback disappeared and was replaced by a curvaceous line. Her originally short legs were now exposed from under her tattered clothes. Fair and slender, especially on Dao Master Songling's face. The wrinkled old face was disappearing at a speed visible to the naked eye. It was as if a mural had been sealed for many years and had finally been unsealed, revealing the delicate skin inside. A slender and hot figure, an exquisite face. At this moment, her clothes were tight and narrow. Just like that, Dao Master Songling's true appearance was revealed in front of Lin Yu. Dao Master still looks good like this. Lin Yu smiled faintly. He had seen too many women and obtained too many of them. The current Dao Master Songling could get 9 out of 10 from him. Ever since Brother Zither Emperor died, I swore that I would no longer be moved, so I became the same as before and focused on cultivation. Dao Master Songling explained a few more words. Lin Yu knew all of this, but he still listened patiently. After nodding, he knew one of the last few secrets of the starry sky. Lin Yu. Dao Master Songling held him again. The two of them accidentally stuck very close. Lin Yu could even feel Dao Master Songling's accelerated heartbeat. Chapter 697. This guy had just revealed his original appearance, and he was blushing. Dao Master Songling took a few steps back and distanced herself, but she still grabbed Lin Yu's hand. Have you really thought it through? She felt that she couldn't just let Lin Yu jump down impulsively. I have. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Lin Yu patted Dao Master Songling's jade-like hand. It was slightly cold, but her skin was as smooth as snow. It seemed that being sealed for so long didn't affect her original skin. All right, Lu Youqi and I will wait for you here. Seeing Lin Yu's deep gaze, Dao Master Songling had no choice but to let go. All this time, Lin Yu's schemes had always shocked her. Although this young man looked young, he wasn't someone a Dao Lord like her could control or guess. Senior Lu, there's not much time left. There's also the 10,000 Beast War Emperor. Lin Yu said, if the 10,000 Beast War Emperor does anything to the 9-colored egg, you don't have to stop him. Let him do as he pleases. This, Dao Master Songling didn't understand, but Lin Yu didn't say anything else. When she wanted to ask again, Lin Yu had already entered the lightning pool. The lightning surged and was extremely dense. It was like a vast sea of lightning, unfathomable. Every bolt of lightning was like a heavenly tribulation. It had the power to destroy a battle body. Dao Master Songling couldn't count how many bolts of lightning there were. Brother Zither Emperor, you have to protect your successor. You have to live, Dao Master Songling prayed in her heart. Lu Youqi and the 10,000 Beast War Emperor also saw Lin Yu jump into the lightning pool. This kid has great providence. He will definitely be the biggest obstacle to unifying the Sky Desert. The 10,000 Beast War Emperor sat beside Lu Youqi like a mountain. Perhaps this was the first time the 10,000 Beast War Emperor was so close to a human. Both of them had been severely injured by and didn't have much time left. Yamato has long realized this, so he will definitely get rid of him. Lu Youqi let out a long sigh and said, it's not just When he stepped into the supremacy stage, he attracted the killing intent of that person in the sky. Endless heavenly tribulations descended. This is something unusual. He recalled how Lin Yu had used the heavenly tribulation to defeat the pursuit of several Dao Lords. Although it looked like Lin Yu's clever strategy, Lu Yoqi thought deeper. How could a mere supreme being attract such a massive heavenly tribulation? Even you are afraid of the heavenly tribulation. It seems that no one under the great emperor of equalization can stop it. The 10,000 Beast War Emperor was surprised. He understood what Lu Yoqi meant. Even an ordinary great emperor of equilibrium wouldn't be able to withstand a heavenly tribulation of that level. Lu Yoqi nodded as a smile appeared on his pale face. The vast abyss sect lord has paid a terrible price under the heavenly tribulation. Haha, interesting. It would appear that the thing above is also afraid. The 10,000 Beasts War Emperor laughed. The surrounding space was moved by his laughter, and the sound of ripples could be heard. He patted the ground and looked at the 9-colored egg. I hope it's not just Lin Yu alone. There's also this. His eyes, which had been beaten out of battle by day, were now burning with new hope. Perhaps I can pass on this obsession. After saying that, the 10,000 Beast War Emperor stood up and slowly approached the 9-colored egg. A demonic wind blew, and the domineering aura around the 9-colored egg shocked the 10,000 Beast War Emperor. The layers of totems on the stone wall also glowed brighter as he approached. It seemed to have formed a terrifying defensive mechanism. If anyone dared to harm the 9-colored egg, this defensive mechanism and the countless totems of the ancient demon would immediately kill that person. Perhaps even Day wouldn't dare to touch the 9-colored egg now. I won't hurt you. Don't be nervous. The 10,000 Beast War Emperor took the initiative to show his goodwill. His demonic aura was different from the demonic aura he used to fight. The demonic aura now was gentle, as if an elder was accompanying a newborn. Your master has entered the lightning pool. It's extremely dangerous, but it's the only way out. Outside, there's the Azure Sky Dao Lord, who's as strong as a half-step heavenly immortal with the help of the heavenly Dao. He wants to kill you, master. The 10,000 Beasts War Emperor knew that the 9-colored egg already had its own consciousness. Otherwise, it wouldn't have resisted when he was pressuring Lin Yu. But its consciousness, other than its unshakable loyalty to Lin Yu, was incomplete in other aspects. Do you want to help your master? The 10,000 Beasts War Emperor continued. As he muttered, his demonic aura surrounded the 9-colored egg. I can help you. I can help you reach the 9 Daos balanced Great Emperor realm. With your talent, you might even be stronger. The 9-colored egg didn't reject the 10,000 Beast War Emperor's demonic aura. This was the strongest demonic aura in the Sky Desert universe. Very well, but I also want you to promise me one thing. The 9-colored egg stopped absorbing the demonic aura. The 10,000 Beast War Emperor smiled. Don't worry, this is what your master will do. Kill the he for me. After that, after a long time, the 9-colored egg seemed to have its answer. It continued to absorb the 10,000 Beast War Emperor's demonic aura. In that case, I'll take it as a promise. The 10,000 Beast War Emperor's eyes shone with hope. Very well, the he I haven't lost. You'll die under the power of the 10,000 beasts. His maniacal laughter echoed in the abyss of despair. Even Yamato, who was in the outside world, opened his eyes. But he couldn't see the changes in the abyss of despair. Final struggle. Did he close his eyes again? In his opinion, the 10,000 Beast War Emperor wouldn't be able to cause any trouble. But he didn't know that the unhatched 9-colored egg in the abyss of despair, which was the crystallization of the 8-winged demon emperor python and the ape from beyond the sky, had already locked onto him. Lin Yu, you guessed right again. Dao Master Tsang Ling looked at the exhausted 10,000 Beasts War Emperor. How could she not understand what Lin Yu meant? What the 10,000 Beasts War Emperor would do to the 9-colored egg? She thought it was something bad, but now it seemed that the 10,000 Beasts War Emperor was activating his inheritance. Here, a sovereign of a generation had fallen, and another sovereign of the demon clan was about to be born. On the other side, Lu Yoqi looked at Dao Master Tsang Ling and chuckled. Back then, you were the #1 beauty of the Sky Desert. To be able to see your face again, I can die without regrets. Senior, you must be joking. Dao Master Tsongling bowed. They were both Dao Masters, but Lu Youqi had always been her respected senior. The Zither Emperor had no foresight, or rather, he wanted to take the last step and participate in the emotions of mortals. Unfortunately, it was too late. Lu Youqi sighed and said, "You pretended for the Zither Emperor for many years. Now, you've removed your disguise because of another man. Songling, do you know what you're thinking?" Chapter 698. Understand what you mean. Sect Master Tsongling blushed, and the two of them stopped talking. Below the lightning pool, Lin Yu didn't know what was happening above. All he could see now was the endless lightning. Even if he moved at full speed, he still couldn't reach 10% of his speed in the outside world. Moreover, Lin Yu's aura was constantly being depleted by the lightning. The five elements' supreme intent circulated rapidly, forming a defense that even a Dao Master would find difficult to break. Lin Yu even activated the Buddha Roar Garuda, causing a five-colored Buddha image to appear outside his body. He was also wearing the Emperor armor. However, the lightning attack was still too strong. The lightning here was even denser than when he had passed the supreme stage. It was invading his body from every pore. The Buddha Roar Garuda was broken. Even if Lin Yu kept using the eternal nomological laws, it wouldn't be of much use. Dragon form. The Great Void 8 Tribes dragon form transformed into a dragon soul defense. With the dragon god nomological laws behind him, Lin Yu instantly blasted away a portion of the lightning and increased his speed. However, in the next moment, more lightning surged over and destroyed his dragon form again. Death God, crossing the border. The black scythe streaked across the sky, and countless lightning bolts were directly cut off. Lin Yu's figure exploded and continued moving forward. The position behind him was instantly drowned by lightning. In front of him, a large amount of lightning surged over. In 24 hours, Lin Yu had only moved a distance of 100,000 feet. According to his estimation, it would take at least more than 3,000 days, close to 10 years, to cross the 30 million feet lightning pool. A little faster. Lin Yu's space-time value immediately revolved. When he was exhausted, he recovered to his peak state. However, at this moment, Lin Yu felt that this lightning pool seemed to be able to help him temper and break through. The beginning is the end. The abyss is the sky. The fourth part of the Great Void 8 Tribes, Azura. It's the opposite of life and death. It's the opposite of heaven. It's neither heaven, human, demon, nor immortal. Perhaps I can comprehend it here, Azura. Lin Yu slowly closed his eyes. As he clashed with the bolts of lightning, he also entered a state of enlightenment. Ordinary people would not be able to multitask in such an environment, but Lin Yu was different. His state of mind had been tempered for 100,000 years, and was not something ordinary cultivators could compare to. 50,000 feet, 100,000 zhang, 300,000 zhang. Lin Yu's aura was constantly changing, and the power of Azura in his body was becoming more and more obvious. Destruction before re-establishment. Boom! In Lin Yu's body, Azura of the 8 divisions of the Great Void gradually took form. 30%, 50%, 70%. Lin Yu could feel that the 8 Great Void sects this time was different from before. This time it was very strong. Dragon Tribe, Yiksha, Garuda. This was the 4th stage of his 8 steps of the Great Void, and every transformation of the 8 steps of the Great Void was stronger than before. In Lin Yu's knowledge, this divine power could be considered the second of the 5 great divine powers, and the first one was much more powerful. Unfortunately, the knowledge of this world was limited, and Lin Yu did not know its true nature and position. In my Sky Supreme realm, 3 out of the 3 stars are life and death. Lin Yu spoke slowly. From the first stage of Azura's cultivation until now, the backlash of the lightning had become stronger, but his speed had indeed increased by a lot. He had become stronger, and the understanding in his eyes had also increased. This boundless lightning pool just happened to be the best place to cultivate. With my current realm, even if I can fight with 9 nether and the others outside, it is impossible to defeat Yamato, who has borrowed the power of the heavenly Tao. Lin Yu's gaze was deep, and he had a plan. He wanted to break through to the Sky Supreme realm here. At this moment, the 5-element seal was constantly rotating outside his body. Lin Yu's aura also spread out at this moment. He allowed the lightning to pour into his body. The all-pervasive lightning, with intense pain, was destroying Lin Yu's battle body. Enter life and death. Break life and death. The Sky Supreme aura kept erupting, but Lin Yu could not maintain it for too long. The lethality of the lightning was too strong, and he was already exhausted at a very fast speed. Damn it! Lin Yu frowned, but his eyes were even more determined, because he sensed that his aura had increased by a few points. The battle body can't last too long under the lightning tempering, but the divine will can. After Lin Yu finished speaking, he used the space-time value to restore his battle body again, but his divine will was still enduring the pain. 500,000 feet, 150 feet. Lin Yu did not know how much time had passed. In the outside world, Song Ling's eyes were filled with worry, and her bright eyes kept recalling the few times she met Lin Yu. This young man shocked her time and time again. First, he solved the internal conflict in her Song Ling Dao world. Then, he cleared the name of her once respected brother Zither Emperor in the Fong Yi Dao world. This time, he took the risk to enter the lightning pool for the living beings of the Sky Desert universe. He wanted to open a path for everyone. Senior Liu, will he really be fine? Behind him, Liu Youqi did not have much time left. However, his gaze became even clearer and calmer. Don't worry, everyone will die, but that kid won't die so easily. Liu Youqi had great confidence in Lin Yu. Before Lin Yu went in, he had healed him once. At that time, he had clearly sensed the space-time value in Lin Yu's body. It was a terrifying existence that transcended the rules of heaven and earth in this world. With that thing, Lin Yu was basically in a state of immortality. It seems that you are very confident in him. In the distance, the 10,000 Beast War Emperor, who was still beside the 9-colored egg, spoke. But when Song Ling and Liu Youqi saw him, they saw that the 10,000 Beast War Emperor's fur had turned white. He was no longer as majestic as before. Now the 10,000 Beast War Emperor was like an old man in his twilight years. Compared to Liu Youqi, he seemed to be in a worse state. War Emperor. Song Ling and Liu Youqi spoke at the same time. Their faces were filled with complicated emotions. They were originally enemies of the 10,000 Beast War Emperor, but because of the 3 of them were in trouble together. The enemy of the enemy became friends. But now, the 10,000 Beast War Emperor, who had just become friends with them, seemed to be leaving before them. If he sees me in this state, he will hit me when I'm down. The 10,000 Beast War Emperor laughed at himself. His voice was not as strong as before. The time of his death was not far away. War Emperor, you have left a glimmer of hope for the Sky Desert universe. Liu Youqi said in a respectful tone. He recognized heroes and valued them. That was his mentality now. Lin Yu is the hope of the human race. I care about my reputation. No matter what, I have to leave a glimmer of hope for the monster race. The 10,000 Beast War Emperor laughed. Otherwise, 10,000 years later, will there still be a place for the monster race in the Sky Desert universe? Sect Master Song Ling was confused. Can't the monster race and the human race live in peace? Chapter 699. It used to be possible, but not now. Liu Youqi's eyes were filled with reminiscence. 10,000 years ago, weren't the human race and the beast race friends? He glanced at the Beast War Emperor. Right. War Emperor, you could be Yamato's brother. Enough. The Beast War Emperor gritted his teeth. The worst thing I've done in my life is to acknowledge Yamato as my brother. This old man understands. Liu Youqi chuckled. Now the beast race and the human race are irreconcilable. But War Emperor, look at this 9-colored egg and Lin Yu. He pointed at the 9-colored egg. The myriad beast war emperor finally understood. The nine-colored egg was completely loyal to Lin Yu. These two people might lead the human race and the beast race to coexist peacefully in the future. I hope that Lin Yu won't let the beast race down again. The beast war emperor retracted his gaze. He poured his remaining demonic qi into the nine-colored egg without holding back. After listening, Liu Youqi and the others also fell into silence. The nine-colored egg and Lin Yu now. Wasn't it just like Yamato and the beast war emperor 10,000 years ago? But whether the two would repeat the same mistake in the future, no one could say for sure. 10 million feet below the lightning pool. Lin Yu knew his approximate progress, but he didn't know the feeling of time. He had been in there for 3 years. Still 60% to go, Lin Yu said slowly. His space-time value was greatly consumed, but compared to the beginning, it was much less. The current Lin Yu was getting more and more accustomed to the lightning. In the beginning, it was reset every few hours. Now, it only needed to be reset once every 3 days. And Azura's supernatural power in his body was also more powerful at this moment. I've already mastered the first level. Maybe I can try the second level now. As Lin Yu's voice fell, a phantom appeared outside his body. This phantom was similar to the Buddha Garuda, but it was much bigger. Moreover, it matched the appearance of the Buddhist statue of Buddha Jela. Now, the shadow on Lin Yu's body is a dark demonic god, neither heaven nor earth, neither demon nor human. It was said that Azura was the name of one of the 6 Tao in Buddhism. This path of reincarnation was between demons, humans, and beasts. It was the most despised path of the 6 paths. On the other hand, this Tao was just right. It was independent and opposed to the heaven Tao. The second heaven defined the heavens. Lin Yu's eyes glowed brightly as lightning surged into the illusory figure. In the next moment, the illusory image changed. Lin Yu's surroundings were also constantly changing. Above the Azura's phantom, there was a suction force. The lightning that appeared around Lin Yu was being absorbed by him at an extremely fast speed. The fourth part of the Great Void 8 tribes, Azura's first heaven, Azura's shadow. The second heaven was the heaven and earth reversal technique, reversing yin and yang, heaven and earth, life and death, neither alive nor dead. It reversed everything to change the enemy's advantage. Lin Yu knew that this technique could only be used on himself now. However, once his cultivation reached a certain level, he might be able to use it on existences above the heaven desert. At that time, heaven would no longer be heaven, but earth. And below the heaven desert, he would be the true heaven. The lightning pool shrank rapidly. Lin Yu's cultivation was depleted. However, before he reset his physical body, he poured all his cultivation power into the illusory figure. This was the state of charging the Azura with energy. Outside, Tao Master Songling was shocked when he saw the endless lightning pool in front of him shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye. That kid has encountered another opportunity in there. Liu Youqi was the first to judge. Heaven's will, heaven's will. The great danger of others has become a great opportunity for him. Comparisons were odious. Liu Youqi, who had already accepted life, was offended by Lin Yu again. Below, the 30 million feet lightning pool kept surging into Azura. Time passed year by year. Lin Yu had already been in the second heaven for 9 years. When he stepped into the first heaven, it took him less than a year. However, it took him 9 years for the rest of the time. In these 9 years, Lin Yu's Azura illusory figure had already reached 1 million feet in size. If he stood up, it could be said that his feet stepped on the ground and his head reached the sky. As for the 30,000 feet lightning pool, it was completely sucked dry. At this moment, Lin Yu saw the exit. In the deepest part of the abyss of despair, he could only see 30,000 feet below the lightning. He saw a bridge. Around the bridge, clouds rolled. It was a hidden place without any disputes. It was like a fairyland. Sky bridge. Lin Yu's heart beat faster. The size of the bridge exceeded the maximum state of the Nirvana universe staff. No Emperor artifact could reach such a huge level. Only a divine item, Lin Yu only knew that the only divine ability in the Heaven Desert universe was the Heaven Reflecting Mirror. He didn't expect the Sky Bridge to be one of the divine items. System, after I die, if I don't wake up within 33 days, I have confidence in recovering to my current state. Lin Yu gave the last order. At this moment, he was extremely weak. However, he had mastered the second heaven of Azura. Reverse the universe. Lin Yu activated Azura's great cycle. At this moment, he closed his eyes and allowed his body to fall freely. He only saw the Sky Bridge, but he hadn't completely left the abyss of despair. There was still some distance to the end. When Lin Yu closed his eyes, the aura in his body was completely gone. Even the Azura illusory figure on his body had completely disappeared. The 30 million feet lightning caused Lin Yu's Azura illusory figure to become a 100,000 feet lightning clone. A punch from this clone was enough to turn an early-stage Great Emperor into ashes. However, the current Lin Yu didn't need combat power anymore. The other heavenly sovereigns only needed to continue condensing the sixth of the 5 sovereign intents. However, Lin Yu's heavenly sovereign was different. He had the perfect sovereign intent. From the moment he cultivated it, he was already in the most perfect state. Perfection meant that he couldn't break through anymore. Just like Liu Youqi, after his cultivation reached a certain level, even if he had already comprehended the 3 essences in one cultivation method, it was impossible for him to cultivate the 3 essences in one cultivation method. This was because his cultivation was already fixed. Unless he brought this cultivation method and was reborn. Lin Yu was reborn now. With rebirth, he increased the possibilities of his perfect sovereign intent. 10 days, 20 days. 20 days had passed since Lin Yu's death. In the outside world, Sect Master Cong Ling saw the lightning pool disappear. Did he succeed? Cong Ling's eyes were filled with tears because the 10,000 Beast War Emperor was about to die. Liu Youqi didn't have much time left. 10 years are almost up. Is he almost there? Liu Youqi's voice was so weak that it couldn't even be compared to an ordinary person's. Compared to before, his face was much older and more aged. War Emperor, it seems like I have to leave before you. Liu Youqi smiled faintly and looked in the direction of the 9-colored egg. Chapter 700. There, the 10,000 Beast War Emperor had shrunk to the size of a human. There was only a trace of demonic aura left on his body. This demonic aura supported the barrier outside the abyss of despair and was connected to his bloodline. When this demonic aura completely dissipated, the abyss of despair would no longer have any protection. Outside the barrier, Dahi's aura had recovered to its peak. Commander, Sky Spill and Cong Ling are under our command. Dao Master Cheong Hua arrived behind Dahi. Compared to 10 years ago, there was more ruthlessness and cold-bloodedness on her face. The people of Cong Ling Dao world have gone through 66 dynasties. 30 of them have lost their monarchs and were ruled by other dynasties. The 1 trillion living beings of the Sky Spill Dao world are all dead. According to the commander's orders, their divine consciousnesses have been destroyed to prevent them from entering the cycle of reincarnation. Where did the people of Cong Ling go? Did he slowly open his eyes and ask coldly? Cheong Hua lowered her head with a grave expression. I'm useless. Before my army could stop the Cong Ling Dao world, more than half of them had left. He narrowed his eyes. I reign supreme in the Sky Desert universe. Where can they go? The square Dao world. Cheong Hua's expression darkened. Dao Master Xiandu and Dao Master Nine Nether are already outside the square Dao world. But even with me, we can't take down that place. Why? Lord Sha Xian is there. Dao Master Yusu's proud disciple, Di Shur, and Little Buddha are also great emperors of balance. In addition, there's a sea of fire outside the square Dao world. She wanted to say something, but stopped. Continue. Yes, the power of that sea of fire is extremely similar to the commander's natal golden crow fire. The voice sounded. The golden crow inside Dahi's body trembled. Someone took your golden crow fire? Dahi's expression was ugly. He only knew that the Golden Crow was injured in the Square Dao world and lost some Golden Crow fire. But he didn't know that the Golden Crow fire hadn't disappeared, but had been taken away by someone. Seeing that the Golden Crow didn't refute him, Dahi understood. Delay the people of the Square Dao world. After I'm done here, I'll attack the Square Dao world. Xianghua nodded. She had come this time to ask Dahi. The Golden Crow fire formed an impregnable defense outside the Dao realm. There were 3 great emperors of Balance Realm, Murderous Heart Palace, Feng Yi Dao World, and more than half of Songling Dao World's people. Unless Shi, Xiandu, and the 9th Hell Dao Lord paid the price in blood, otherwise, it was utterly impossible to break through such a force. After they had dealt with the people from the Sky Spill Dao World and the other Dao World along the way, they had also suffered some casualties. Over the past 10 years, the various Dao worlds of the Sky Desert universe had suffered casualties. As a result, Xianghua and the other 2 Dao masters were no longer willing to pay the price to attack the Dao world of Feng Yi. If Yamato wanted to go to the Heavenly Desert together, he would have to deal with this last obstacle himself. I'll report this to Dao Lord Xiandu and Dao Lord Nine Abyss. He cupped his fists and left. Yamato's gaze once again fell upon the barrier of the abyss of despair. Will I borrow the power from beyond the heavens again? Or will your War Emperor's barrier disappear on its own? Yamato smiled coldly. There was no need for him to be anxious. In his opinion, everything here was already set in stone. The barrier was destined to disappear. Even if it didn't disappear, he would be able to borrow the power from beyond the heavens soon. At that time, he would still be able to break through everything. As for the Dao world of Feng Yi, it would only be a matter of time before he withdrew himself and wanted to kill them. Lin Yu, that little thief, was also inside 10 years ago. This time, I won't let you leave. Yamato's killing intent sword. Inside the abyss of despair, under the 30 million feet of lightning. It had been 33 days since Lin Yu's death. On the last day, Lin Yu had already landed under the sky bridge. At that moment, under the sky bridge was a pond that seemed to have no fluctuations in time. It was so calm that no vitality could be seen. Above the pond, there was a lotus flower that was several feet long that floated slowly. Lin Yu had now landed on a lotus flower. The moment Lin Yu appeared, a figure stood on the sky bridge. No one knew how long he had been standing there. It was as if he had always been there since ancient times. The figure didn't move at all, but his eyes fell on Lin Yu and landed on the lotus flower. The dead. He allowed a hoarse voice that was filled with endless age and death. It didn't sound like a voice that a living person could make. No one knew when was the last time this figure spoke. When he thought that Lin Yu was just a dead person and wanted to retract his gaze, the next moment, a shadow suddenly appeared on Lin Yu's body. Azura of the Great Void 8 Tribes. The shadow was 100,000 feet tall and was as tall as the sky bridge. At that moment, it was as if heaven and earth were looking at each other. Kill! The moment the figure saw Azura, his originally calm appearance suddenly became incomparably ferocious. He roared a word. As soon as the word fell, the temperature of the fairyland-like pond on the sky bridge suddenly soared. Lotus flowers burned with incomparably hot flames. The water below also suddenly dried up, revealing the bottom of the pond. There was a large pile of bones there. Countless bones were connected to the roots of the lotus flowers. These seemingly beautiful lotuses were actually nourished by these skeletons. The figure's voice sounded, and flames seemed to be about to surge toward Lin Yu. The shadow just looked at each other. He seemed to be hiding a wisp of Lin Yu's while in his body. The 100,000 feet tall shadow poured into Lin Yu's body. The originally dead body suddenly opened its eyes. Lin Yu's body crackled, and his 5-element supreme will merged into one again. Metal begets wood. Wood begets water. Water begets fire. Fire begets earth. Earth begets metal. The cycle was endless and inextinguishable. Lin Yu's aura suddenly soared at this moment. He was now a 2-star Sky Supreme. It seems that I've succeeded. Lin Yu didn't have time to feel the joy of breaking through. At this moment, a sense of crisis came again. On the sky bridge, He and the figure looked at each other across the sky. The surrounding flames formed into fire dragons that were millions of feet long. At this moment, all of them had locked onto Linyu. They would devour him in an instant. Legend has it that there's a bridge guard on the sky bridge. I think it's you. Linyu smiled faintly, without any fear. Logically speaking, he still had to die 2 more times before he could step into the balanced Great Emperor realm. Linyu, on the other hand, could only seek death. He could feel the strength of the other party. He was a half-step heavenly immortal. He was much stronger than Yamato. In other words, Linyu could guess that Yamato's previous strength was lent to him by this guy. You don't deserve to know. The bridge guard seemed to have also sensed Linyu's aura. 3 elements in one shouldn't appear in the heavenly desert. Chapter 701. After saying that, the endless flames rushed directly toward Linyu. Azura's shadow condensed again. Azura was outside, and Buddha Garuda was inside. Linyu's outer layer formed 2 defensive barriers of golden light and black light. You want to kill me because I'm a 3-in-1 cultivator? Linyu's eyes revealed understanding. He finally understood why every time he broke through, he would attract the Wu Wang heavenly tribulation. This world is just Master's tomb. It uses the power of the world to nourish Master's opportunity to be reborn. The figure's hoarse voice sounded again. Master is not allowed to appear. A 3-in-1 cultivator is not allowed. So that's how it is. Linyu's laughter spread in all directions. Another secret that he couldn't find out when he was trapped was solved in his heart. Danger descended, and Linyu was about to be killed. However, the latter saw the other 2 shadows on the sky bridge. They were Downlord-level shadows. One was Yamato. He walked at the front and seemed to be about to reach the end of the sky bridge. The other was second only to Yamato and a few steps behind. It was the shadow of an old man. Liu Qi. When Linyu saw Liu Qi seemed to have seen him as well. In the next moment, a teleportation light appeared on Liu Qi's body. Linyu, I'll send you out. Liu Qi's voice entered Linyu's ears. This wasn't his main body, but a Dao intent outside his body. The strongest Dao Lord in the Sky Desert universe could leave a Dao intent outside his body on the sky bridge. The day their Dao intent ascended to the heavens was the day they stepped into the heavenly immortal realm, which was above the great emperor of equalization. But at this moment, as Azura and Buddha Garuda continued to shatter, and Linyu was engulfed by endless dragon fire, a teleportation force appeared on Linyu's body. He welcomed his second death. It was also at the moment of his death that the Liu device sacrificed itself to open up a teleportation power. Dao Lords had the ability to connect to the Dao world. Furthermore, Liu Yochi and Azure Sky Dao Lord were able to leave their Dao bodies on the sky bridge. They naturally had a way to communicate with their Dao bodies. And now, he had given this connection to Linyu. In the next moment, under the cold gaze of the figure on the bridge, Linyu disappeared from the lotus. The moment he disappeared, the lotus started to burn. The flames were even hotter than Dahi's golden crow fire. Linyu died for the second time. When he appeared again, he was already in the sky-spilled Dao world. This was a starfield devoid of life. Compared to the Fong Yi-Dao world in the past, it was even more tragic. The billions of living beings here had all died, and the smell of blood filled the entire Dao world. Countless star systems were destroyed, and broken meteorites floated everywhere. He couldn't even sense the origin power of the starry sky, the glorious Qi. Obviously, Yamato's army had taken away all the resources here. Linyu, on the other hand, was able to merge with the aura here because he was also dead. A large amount of death Qi started to surge into Linyu's body. His first death was in the 30 million feet thunder pool. In this second death, Linyu absorbed billions of death Qi. In his body, the death Qi attracted by the first place on the black list appeared again and resonated with the surrounding death Qi. A large amount of death Qi surged into Linyu's body. However, this death Qi had no effect on his body. At this moment, Lin Yu was a dead man. 3 days, 10 days, 20 days. Another 33 days passed. At that moment, the death chi accumulated in Lin Yu's body started to transform rapidly. Azura's second heaven, reversal of heaven and earth, life and death interchange. All the death chi turned into vitality at this moment. Lin Yu seemed to be able to hear his own heartbeat as he erupted with an unprecedentedly terrifying vitality. The vitality transformation of a Dao world? That's good for me. The corners of Lin Yu's mouth curled up as he bowed deeply to the sky-spilled Dao world. Senior Liu, everyone from the sky-spilled Dao world, have a safe journey. As soon as he finished speaking, the world seemed to resonate again. In an instant, Lin Yu's cultivation level skyrocketed, and he stepped into the 3-star Sky Supreme stage. He was only 1 step away from the balanced Great Dark stage. 3,000 lightning bolts to temper my divine sense, billions of living beings to strengthen my body. Lin Yu looked in a direction in the starry sky. There, a strong sense of danger attacked again. You found it so quickly? Lin Yu smiled and moved his body casually. Now that he was a 3-star Sky Supreme, Lin Yu was sure that no one in the same realm could withstand a punch from him. Even if he encountered 9 Nether and Azure Sky Dao Lord in their ordinary state, Lin Yu could still fight. However, Azure Sky Dao Lord could borrow the power of the Sky Bridge. Lin Yu knew that he was not strong enough now. Unless I step into the balanced Great Dark stage, I am still not his match. He understood this point. Therefore, when the endless flames rushed into the sky-spilled Dao world, they instantly locked onto Lin Yu. However, he did not dodge. Instead, he activated the teleportation array. At this moment, Lin Yu is a little lost. He was about to attract his 3rd death. Then, this 3rd death would definitely make him weaker than before. Where could he go? The Sky Desert universe was huge, and the square Dao world was already on the brink of destruction. If he appeared again in a dead state, it might disrupt the morale of the square Dao world. He was the faith of the square Dao world. During the great battle, he could not let others see his weakness. He could not go to Tsangling either. It was probably the same as the sky-spilled Dao world. Those who did not follow Zhang Wuliang were all dead. As the heavenly flames descended, Lin Yu chose a direction. That was a subconscious choice because his will had started to blur. The sky-spilled Dao world regained its peace. It was as if Lin Yu had never appeared. There were also no traces of battle. Only the endless flames were burning silently. No one would know what had happened here. However, a moment later, in a corner of the Sky Desert universe, this place did not belong to any Dao world. To be precise, the star domain here was too barren. The powerful 10 great Dao worlds did not care about this place at all. And on a small planet here, there were a few martial Dao sections. The Qin family and the Yin family. They were 2 of them. At this moment, outside the Qin family, a 13-year-old girl tore the marriage contract on the ground. The elders of the Qin family, sitting in the seats of honor, had gloomy expressions as they stared at the rebellious girl. Don't mess around. That child from a Yin family is a good match for you and treats you wholeheartedly. I'm not marrying him, Qin Yi said coldly. Qin Yi said coldly. Now, she had grown into a slender and elegant woman. She was even more stunning than she had been in her last life. Tell us why. What's wrong with that child from the Yin family? The Qin family head asked without any anger on his face. On the other hand, the Qin family elder was extremely angry at this moment. We have a close relationship with the Yin family. We cannot destroy the relationship between the 2 families because of you. The reason is very simple. Qin Yi's eyes were filled with a gentle light. I have someone I like. Chapter 702. Do you have someone you like? Don't talk nonsense. You've been in the Qin family since you were a child. You haven't left the house many times. That's right. Uncle, I still remember that boy from the Yin family came to find you many times in the past few years. You didn't even want to meet him. That's right. Then how could you have the chance to like another man? The elders spoke one after another. The Qin family's patriarch, Qin Zhan, also had a dignified expression at this moment. because from his understanding of his daughter. Now, Qin was standing in the Qin family's hall, willing to be questioned by so many people. But she didn't have the slightest timidity. It could only mean that what his daughter said was true. But when did she have someone she liked? Who was that man? Who's the boy you like? In the hall, Qin raised her eyebrows and said something that made the Qin family's elders furious. I don't know, but I just like him, Qin said, recalling what happened 11 years ago. She saw the boy when she crossed the starry sky with the Qin family's warship. She knew that the boy was the one she liked. As for the reason, Qin didn't want to know. She only wanted to be sure that she liked him and could only be his woman. That was enough. Patriarch, the Yin family's people are here. The Qin family's guard's voice came from outside the door. What? Qin Zhan revealed a difficult expression. He naturally knew that they didn't come with good intentions. Today was the engagement day of Qin and the Yin family's only son, Yin Zhubi. But now the auspicious time had passed, but the Qin family's people hadn't appeared yet. No matter what, he should give the Yin family an explanation. Elders, follow me to meet the guests, Qin Zhan said, and passed by Qin. At the same time, he said, Child, have you thought about it? He loved his daughter very much. This sentence was also his last request. If Qin was determined to refuse the marriage, Qin Zhan wouldn't force her. I've thought about it. Unexpectedly, Qin didn't even think about it and directly nodded in agreement. Good, go back to your room. Don't come out for the time being. Qin Zhan took his people and left, leaving Qin alone. The latter did not know what was going on outside, but her father had never let her down. After bowing to Qin Zhan, Qin went to her room. She was absent-minded the entire way, the figure of that young man lingering in her heart. Although it was only a side profile, that side profile was like a brand that was engraved in her heart. Who is that brother? Qin had also inquired about the youth's background. Unfortunately, he only had a side profile, and his ability was limited. He could only ask around on this planet. Due to the relationship between the Qin family and the Yin family, Qin didn't want to cause too much of a commotion. Hence, there was no news about her until now. She opened the door and walked into her room. Qin let out a long sigh. Just as she was about to relax, she saw a person lying on the bed. Qin immediately cried out and jumped in fright. Miss! Outside the door, the maidservant immediately came forward to inquire about Qin, fearing that something might have happened to her. After all, today was a big day for the Yin and Qin families. Just as Qin was about to call someone in to help, she suddenly saw the appearance of the person on the bed. Just like that time, she could only see a side profile. However, it was just this side profile that was enough to affect Qin's mind. It's him. Qin's heartbeat quickened. She rubbed her bright eyes and took a few more steps forward to take a look. She was not seeing things. It was really him. It's nothing. You can leave first. She sent the maidservant away. Qin continued to approach and arrived at the bedside. At this moment, there was still a bit of teleportation power slowly dissipating on the bed. What happened here just now? Qin frowned. She was very sensitive to the power of the universe since she was young. Unfortunately, the Qin family's resources could only allow her to cultivate to the unfirm realm. They could not afford to cultivate any further. Moreover, she was only 13 or 14 years old and was a daughter. The resources that she used before were obtained by Qin Zhan in the name of the patriarch. The elders were eager to marry her off quickly in exchange for a cooperative relationship with the Yin family. Why? Why did you appear here? Qin's breathing was rapid as she sat on the bed. She sized up Linyu. There was no longer any breath of a living person on his body. Wake up. She tried to gently touch Lin Yu's body, but there was still no reaction. On the contrary, a terrifying force that exceeded all her knowledge directly bounced Qin away. Whoosh! Qin was so frightened that she put her hands in front of her to protect herself. Her whole body was pushed away by the force and directly hit the wall. Puff! She spat out a mouthful of blood. No, you're not dead yet. A dead person could not have such a strong force. A light touch was enough to injure her unfirm realm peak cultivation, even if she was injured by Lin Yu. However, Qin Yi's face did not have the slightest bit of blame or complaint. She approached again and bowed deeply. I was rude. Yi is here to ask for forgiveness. As her voice fell, the familiar voice seemed to pass through reincarnation and once again entered Lin Yu's ears. In the next moment, Lin Yu's hand trembled. Qin Yi sat down again, but this time she did not rashly touch Lin Yu's body. Instead, she maintained a certain distance. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's good that you appeared now, Qin Yi said to herself. The girl's heart beside this dead person was a little less estranged. You might have already forgotten me. Qin Yi's soft voice came. Will you remember me? Big brother, I saw you when I was young. My appearance should have grown up, but big brother, you haven't changed at all. Qin Yi's voice became more and more joyful. I don't know why, but I was very unhappy today, but big brother, you appeared, and my whole person became beautiful. Pursing her lips, Qin Yi wanted to get closer to Lin Yu again, but the sense of danger just now reminded her that she could not do so. Big brother, why did you become like this? Which bad person bullied you? Qin Yi's face was a little angry. Tell me, Yi, let father take revenge for you. She talked to herself, but no one in the room responded to her. But Qin Yi did not stop. 2 hours passed. 4 hours passed. The youth was lying on the bed, motionless. The girl, on the other hand, kept talking. He told his story from when he was young to now. She unconsciously wanted to tell her what had happened to her in the past 13 years. Qin Yi's childhood was already very vague, but the only thing she remembered was Lin Yu's appearance. But Qin Yi herself might not know. When she talked about her childhood, it was more about her longing for Lin Yu. Big brother, I don't know if you can hear me. Qin Yi laughed at herself, feeling that she was a little silly. But in the next moment, a suction force suddenly came from Lin Yu's body. Chapter 703. This suction force locked onto Qin Yi and pulled her into Lin Yu's arms. At this moment, Qin Yi and Lin Yu were stuck together on the bed. Ah! Qin Yi screamed. This time, the servant girl didn't hear it, but her heart was beating faster than before. Why are tears flowing out of my eyes? Qin Yi was surprised. This was the first time she had such contact with a man. However, this contact didn't make her resist at all. On the contrary, those people like Yin Zhubi were extremely respectful to her because of the relationship between the two families. However, Qin Yi didn't know why, but she was against other men. She didn't even want to see them. However, at this moment, she was lying in the arms of a man, and tears were flowing down her cheeks. Why am I crying? Qin Yi asked herself again. She didn't know why, but the moment she was lying in Lin Yu's arms, she cried. It was as if subconsciously, she had been waiting for this moment for a very long time. The two of them didn't move at all. However, not long after, a few noises came from outside the door. Qin Zhan, I see you as my brother. I didn't expect you to play with my Yin family like this. An old man's voice was heard. Qin Yi was awakened from Lin Yu's arms. She stood up with a worried look on her face. She naturally recognized that it was the voice of the Yin family's patriarch. However, the Yin family's patriarch's strict appearance meant that the conversation between her father and the Yin family failed. Because this was Qin Yi's boudoir, which was also the Qin family's deep courtyard. Outsiders couldn't enter at all. This is Yi's decision. As her father, I naturally have to respect her. Qin Zhan's voice was firm. Brother Yin, my Qin family appreciates Yin family's good intentions. Qin Zhan, think carefully. If Qin Yi doesn't marry my son, the relationship between our Yin family and Qin family will end today. The strict voice spread out, making the Qin family's elders tremble. No, Yin family's patriarch. Our Qin family and Yin family have cooperated for so many years. There's no need to fall out because of such a small matter. Yes, it's just two youngsters fooling around. When their anger dissipates, Yi might agree again. The elders immediately tried to persuade him. However, Yin didn't even look at these people. He knew that as long as Qin Zhan nodded, Qin Yi's thoughts. It didn't matter. This marriage was done. Qin, have you thought it through? Yin asked again, everyone's family's patriarch. Patriarch, we have to rely on the family. As the family's family's family. What's so important about Yi's opinion? Master, as long as you give the order, this old man will drag Yi out and get engaged to Yin family's boy. Please give your order. Please give it. Enough. Qin's face was gloomy to the extreme. The future of a Qin family still needs to depend on my daughter's happiness. Don't you feel ashamed? After listening, the elders could tell that Qin was determined to help his daughter. Qin, you're an old fool. What's the use of having you as the patriarch? Yes, the patriarch should prioritize the Qin family's interests. Your daughter's happiness has nothing to do with us. Today, she has to marry even if she doesn't want to. The Qin family's elders had completely shed all pretense of cordiality. Qin sneered and shook his head in self-mockery. Qin have spent so much effort for the Qin family for so many years. I didn't expect that in return, I raised a group of people like you. Forget it. Qin made up his mind and waved his hand. From today onwards, I don't care if I'm the patriarch. However, you forced my daughter's future for several years. In the future, as long as Qin, am here, no one can bully her. The elders were stunned by Qin's action of abdicating to protect his daughter. Good. What a good father-daughter relationship. The Yin family's patriarch clapped his hands. His face was filled with displeasure. The only son of the Yin family behind him, Yin Zhubi, also had the same expression. If Qin Yi agreed today, then he should be Qin Yi's fiancé right now. Uncle, I want to see Yi, Yin Zhubi said. He didn't know why he couldn't gain Qin Yi's favor. Nephew, you're already one of the top geniuses in the martial Dao continent. You can get any woman you want. Your future is promising. It's our Yi who doesn't know how to cherish it. Qin persuaded, fearing that the Yin family wouldn't give up. Nephew, let's forget about fate. His voice faded. At first, Yin Zhubi's tone had been polite. However, at this moment, he sneered. What a great Qin family. It turns out that the elders have agreed to the marriage agreement with the Yin family. Today, not only have you violated it, but I, Yin Zhubi, am not even qualified to meet Qin Yi. He roared, and a tyrannical battle strength erupted from his body. Grand Supreme Stage. I didn't expect the Yin family's boy to have already stepped into the Grand Supreme Stage. At such an age, he stepped into the Grand Supreme Stage at the age of 20. This is unprecedented. If he's given a little more time, the Yin family's boy will definitely be able to enter the Dao world. It's not impossible for him to step into the Law Realm, or even the Supreme Stage in the future. The elders looked at each other in dismay. They all felt that it was a pity. With Qin's attitude today, it seemed that the marriage was impossible. Qin, look carefully. My son is now in the Grand Supreme Stage. It's only a matter of time before he surpasses you and me. Yin Zhubi smiled conceitedly. In his eyes, Yin Zhubi was his pride, and this pride was enough to slap anyone in the Qin family. If Qin Yi refuses to see me today, I'll let your Qin family know what you'll lose sooner or later. Yin Zhubi's threatening voice sounded. Qin's expression was extremely ugly. The Qin family didn't have a 20-year-old Grand Supreme Stage cultivator. There weren't many such geniuses in the entire martial Dao continent. Such a son-in-law was worthy of the Qin family. However, Yi's attitude was already very clear at that time. Nephew, please forgive my Qin family. Qin cupped his fists and bowed deeply to Yin Zhubi. For an elder, bowing to a junior was enough to express his apology. Qin family, you want to send me away just like that? However, Yin Zhubi still refused to give up. Enough. At this moment, the door of the boudoir opened and Qin Yi walked out with graceful steps. She had heard her father's grievance very clearly. Chapter 704. Seeing Qin Yi appear, Yin Zhubi subconsciously stepped forward and looked at the stunning beauty in front of him. In the entire martial continent, Even among the people he had met since he was young, there was no woman whose appearance could compare to Qin Yi's. My name is Qin Yi. Young Master Yin, please explain. Qin Yi's gaze was cold as she walked to Qin Zhan's side and bowed. Thank you for your hard work, father. She had an apologetic expression. She didn't know who she had offended, but she couldn't get rid of this Yin Zhubi. She even caused her father to be humiliated because of her. I think father and I have already made it clear. Young Master Yin, please leave. Qin Yi raised her hand. She was asking him to leave. Don't you have anything else to say to me? Yin Zhubi's expression was gloomy, and his gaze was filled with hostility. Which part of me doesn't deserve you? I've made my intentions very clear. The people of the Yin family should have had enough, right? Qin Yi said angrily. She had never really agreed to this marriage. It was just the Elders Guild and the Yin family who thought they were infallible. Only this morning did they inform her of the engagement ceremony. If others didn't respect her, why should Qin Yi respect others? I'm causing trouble. Qin Yi, you should know that I will definitely get the woman I want. Being rejected by Qin Yi, Yin Zhubi's face was filled with anger. What a stinky girl. You don't know how to appreciate favors. Yin Yin saw his son being wronged and stepped forward. His tyrannical aura skyrocketed, reaching the first layer of the law realm. Qin Yi was 2 layers below him. Naturally, she wasn't his opponent and took a few steps back in fear. Qin Zhan immediately stood in front of Qin Yi. Brother Yin, what's the point of scaring the younger generation? His cultivation had also reached the first layer of the law realm. The 2 of them could be considered the top experts of this star field continent. Of course, Yin family was still much stronger than Qin family in terms of resources and numbers. Father, forget it. Yin Zhubi's voice came. He suppressed his anger and said to Qin Yi, every dog has its day. I hope that in the future, Miss Qin, you won't regret rejecting me today. With that, Yin Zhubi waved his hand and left. The other members of the Yin clan also left at the same time. But after today, the Qin family and the Yin family had officially fallen out. The curses of the Elders Assembly's people were directed at Qin Zhan and Qin Yi. Qin Zhan, from today onwards, the 2 of you are no longer part of our Qin clan. Please scram. After offending the Yin clan, I don't know when the Qin clan will be able to rise again. Since you refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit, both of you, father and daughter, die. Scram. If you don't scram, don't blame us for taking action. The cold words were like blades stabbing into the hearts of Qin Zhan and his daughter. It turned out that what he had been trying so hard to protect was actually the interests of these people. Father, it's my fault. Qin Yi's long, shapely eyebrows were heavy. Although she had already reached the point of being driven away, her face was still filled with determination. This scene made Qin Zhan a little stunned. Why was his daughter suddenly different from this morning? It seemed that the current Qin Yi had become much stronger, and her entire person had a lot more confidence. It's not your fault. After your mother's death, father didn't take good care of you. That's why this group of people used you and made things difficult for you. Qin Zhan comforted and no longer felt reluctant to leave this clan. Pack up, we're leaving. There's no need to stay here anymore. All right. Qin Yi nodded, but she still remembered that Lin Yu was still in the room. Father, please wait for me. Qin Yi glanced at the others. Elders, we're going to leave now. Please give us some time and don't stare here. She was thinking about Lin Yu's current state. If these elders were to make things difficult for him, it would be even more troublesome. Qin Yi wanted to send these people away. As for those elders, they looked at each other and were too lazy to pay attention to this pair of father and daughter. Hurry up. Also, you're not allowed to take away the valuables of our Qin clan. Otherwise, don't blame us for disregarding our old friendship. That's right. Since Qin Zhan voluntarily gave up the patriarch position, then your future path is your own decision. It has nothing to do with anyone else. All right, don't talk nonsense with them. Hurry up and leave so that we can give an explanation to the Yin clan. After saying that, the elders were about to leave. But suddenly, Qin Yi's personal maid called out to them. Elders, there's a man in Mrs. Boudoir. As soon as she said that, The elders who had already left the courtyard immediately stopped their footsteps. What? Could it be that Qin already has a man? Bastard! He dares to ruin our Qin clan's reputation at such a young age. We have to catch that wild man and hand him over to the Yin clan so that we can give an explanation. Qin entire face suddenly turned pale. She turned around and looked at the maid in disbelief. Why did you betray me? She had clearly sent this maid away just now. But now, this maid was standing at the door of her boudoir. Obviously, when everyone was arguing, she secretly sneaked in and peeked. Lin Yu was lying on the bed inside. This maid must have seen this too. But Qin didn't understand why this maid grew up with her. Although they weren't sisters, there was no hostility between master and servant. Because the maid stepped forward and whispered in Qin's ear, "I'm Yin Zhu's subordinate." After saying that, before Qin could react, the maidservant fell to the ground and screamed in pain. "Miss, don't kill me. Xiaolu really can't go against my conscience and hide it for you. Elders, save me. Miss is going to kill me." Xiaolu staggered back. Qin's eyes were gloomy. Seeing this disgusting scene, she was even more desperate for the Qin clan. "Father." Qin clenched her teeth. "I understand." There was no need for Qin to say anything. Qin saw very clearly that his daughter didn't do anything at all. It was this maid who was acting. "I didn't expect that my Qin clan had already been monitored." Qin was even more certain that he had to take his daughter away from here. But now, this group of elders was ready to rush into Qin's room and catch Lin Yu. "Stop, he's my friend." Seeing this, Qin didn't think at all and directly stepped in front of the boudoir. Her face revealed a strong fear. Different from before, even if she was in danger, Qin wasn't afraid. But when she thought that Lin Yu might be taken to the Yin clan by this group of elders, she was terrified. Qin was extremely flustered and scared. Chapter 705. Get lost. What a stinky girl. I was wondering why you didn't like that kid from the Yin clan. It turns out that he has been fooling around with other men. Qin, you better ask your daughter to get out of the way. Otherwise, don't blame us for taking action today. The elders threatened. Qin stepped forward and sensed that Qin was about to be threatened. However, how could he not know how stubborn his daughter was? "Since we are no longer part of the Qin clan, why should my daughter explain herself to you when she takes her friend away?" Qin said angrily and was about to help Qin. The elders looked at each other and immediately made a decision. In an instant, 6 of the 7 elders moved to 6 different positions around Qin. The 6 of them made hand seals at the same time, and the Qin clan's dragon trapping formation was formed. Around Qin, the power of the formation formed 6 black lights on the ground and trapped him like a cage. Dragon trapping formation. Qin clenched his teeth. This dragon trapping formation was improved by him and became perfect. Only then did he teach it to the 6 elders. What was ridiculous was that it was used on him today. "Go quickly." Qin immediately shouted because the 7th elder had already fixed his eyes on Qin. "Old 7, take that kid and Qin to the Yin clan to ask for forgiveness. Today's matter can be considered resolved." "Yes, Qin can't leave. Take Qin and send her to the Yin clan." "Qin, are you going to surrender yourself, or do you want me to do it?" "I won't let you in even if I die," Qin replied while clenching her teeth. The 7th elder's eyes turned cold, and his 5 fingers clawed at Qin. The latter's eyes flickered, and cold air spread out from her jade-like hands. It was the cold air palm force of the unfirm realm. The palm force blasted out and clashed with the 7th elder's claw technique. "You overestimate yourself," the 7th elder sneered. Although Qin was very talented, unfortunately, the Qin clan's resources had been suppressed by the 7 of them in order to prevent Qin and his daughter from getting bigger. On one hand, the elders needed Qin to work hard for the Qin clan. On the other hand, they also needed to suppress this father and daughter pair. At that moment, the claw print directly broke through Qin's cold chi palm force. Qin retreated continuously, but the seventh elder's eyes were fierce. He sneered and took advantage of the situation to rush forward. The claw print approached Cheney again. "Where do you think you're going?" Cheney's pretty face was pale, and her aura was in chaos. The seventh elder was at the Grand Supreme Realm, which was one level higher than her. Furthermore, his attacks were vicious. How could Cheney be his opponent? 9 feet, 5 feet, 2 feet. The claw print headed straight for Cheney's shoulder, sharp and vicious. Cheney roared and unleashed all of his power. However, the black light of the dragon trapping array suppressed most of his power. Bang bang. The earth shattered, and all of Cheney's power was rebounded. The former directly spurted out a mouthful of blood. Damn it. Seeing that Cheney was caught, her gaze was abnormally firm. Crack. The claw landed on Cheney's shoulder. Blood flowed from the corner of her mouth as she desperately struck out with her palms. "I'll kill you." Interesting. The seventh elder sneered. He had already seen through Cheney's little trick. The Grand Supreme Force formed a defensive air wall, and Cheney's palm hit the air wall. Bang! "You want to break my Grand Supreme Force with the all-conquering cold chi? Watch me kill you." The seventh elder's cold voice came. However, as soon as his voice fell, he immediately widened his eyes. Cheney's palm directly penetrated his air wall. With a whoosh, it directly hit his chest. The tyrannical palm energy pierced through seventh elder's chest, and all the bones in his back collapsed. However, there were still some remnants of the palm energy. Everyone heard cracking sounds, and they saw seventh elder's entire body being torn into pieces by the palm energy. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The invisible palm power swept across the whole place, and the black light of the dragon trapping array was directly cut off. Cheney forcibly suppressed the shock in his heart and instantly came to Cheney's side. The 6 elders were terrified. They could still see the 7th elder's only intact head on the ground. His pupils were dilated, and his face was full of regret. However, everything happened too fast. He didn't have time to react before he was killed by Cheney's palm. This 7th elder? Impossible. What did Cheney do? The 6 elders stood together in fear. Although they still wanted to take down Cheney and his daughter, they didn't dare to act recklessly after the drastic change that happened just now. "Daughter." Cheney came back to his senses and looked at Cheney, but the latter had already entered her room. You're awake?" Cheney's bright eyes were filled with tears. She saw Lin Yu weakly put down his right arm. "Big brother, did you owe me just now?" Cheney was exceptionally smart. At this moment, she suddenly understood and grabbed Lin Yu's hand. "Big brother, let's go." She could see that Lin Yu was very weak. Obviously, it was already very difficult for him to help her just now. Lin Yu raised the corner of his mouth. He didn't expect that he would come here by accident. He was too familiar with the lovely girl in front of him. "You can't leave with me." Lin Yu shook his head and smiled. He once understood the people of the Qin clan. This group of old things had been in the Qin clan for decades. Qin didn't understand Lin Yu's meaning. However, in the next moment, she saw Lin Yu's right hand patting the edge of the bed again. In an instant, a formation of 100 feet in radius around the Qin clan's residence soared into the sky. This formation was the Four Swords 5 ultimate god-killing formation. Lin Yu could feel that his current realm had already reached the peak of the heavenly sovereign realm. He was only one step away from stepping into the great emperor of equalization. However, he still couldn't understand how to take this step. As for his own state, Lin Yu could use the space-time value to recover to the peak at any time if he wanted. However, in that way, he would also return to the peak of the sovereign realm that he had painstakingly experienced 3 deaths. Therefore, Lin Yu didn't do that. What is this?" Cheney, who was at the door, and the Qin clan's elders all saw the sudden appearance of the formation that surrounded the entire Qin clan. "Damn it! Someone wants to trap us here. Rush out. Who is it? Who has the ability to move mountains and overturn seas to trap our Qin clan in an instant? Could it be the Yin clan?" However, the Yin clan may not have the ability to do so. The 6 elders immediately unleashed their cultivation, trying to break the formation in the sky. The Four Swords 5 Ultimate God-Killing Formation was the strongest formation formed by Lin Yu with the 9 Emperor artifacts as the formation core. Although he was extremely weak now, the power of the Emperor artifacts was still there, so he didn't need to use his cultivation. Staying here is the safest place. Lin Yu looked at Qin Yi gently and closed his eyes. He still needed to recuperate for 32 days to recover to the peak. At that time, Lin Yu might step into the Great Emperor of Equalization and become the strongest Great Emperor of Equalization in the Sky Desert universe. Chapter 706. After careful calculation, Lin Yu estimated that the restoration time of Lin Xiu in the sky reflecting mirror was about the same time as when he came out of seclusion. This was a coincidence. Seeing Lin Yu close his eyes, Qin Yi pursed her lips and nodded. Then, she walked out with Qin Zhan, who was dumbfounded. Who's inside? The 6 elders broke the array in the sky. They couldn't see the situation in the house, but Qin Zhan saw it very clearly. A young man in his teens patted the edge of the bed gently and formed an array that enveloped the Qin family. This young man wasn't simple at all. That's Big Brother. After Qin Yi said that, she paused for a moment. Yes, she didn't even know what Big Brother was called. Suddenly, when Qin Yi thought of this question, there was a stab in her mind. Lin Yu. This word came out from the depths of her mind. Qin Yi didn't know why this word came out, but she said it. Lin Yu. Why is this name the same as the one on the Tao World's wanted list a year ago? Qin Zhan was surprised, but after thinking about it, there were at least 800 people with the same name in the Sky Desert universe. Maybe it was just the same name. But while he was still thinking, he saw that the 6 elders were still breaking the array in the sky. But now 6 corpses fell from above. They were all dead. When the screams came, Qin Zhan and Qin Yi immediately looked over, but they only saw 6 corpses falling and smashing heavily on the ground. Today, the Qin clan, including the 7th elder who was annihilated by Qin Yi's palm strike, had lost a total of 7 elders. All the Grand Supremes under Qin Zhan, the family head, were dead. Qin Zhan and his daughter were stunned. The elders who were making things difficult for them just now had become a pile of corpses. But these people were the backbone of the Qin family. Now that they were dead, the Qin family was destined to be unable to rise in the future. I don't know whether to cry or laugh. Qin Zhan sighed in his heart. He had lived for most of his life, but this was the first time he encountered such a situation. Patriarch, the disciples of the Qin family were all alarmed and gathered over. Our Qin clan is trapped by an outer space array. No one is allowed to break the array. This is what happened to the elders. Qin Zhan ordered. The Qin clan's disciples were so scared that their legs went soft. They immediately nodded and ordered that no disciple was allowed to get close to the formation. Do you know what that young man means? Qin Zhan was still a little worried. Although the formation didn't harm them, he didn't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing that they were inexplicably trapped here. Big Brother Lin Yu said, "This is the safest place." Qin Yi repeated these words. She didn't know why, but this was the second time she saw Lin Yu. However, Qin Yi trusted Lin Yu from the bottom of her heart. "Father, let's listen to Brother Lin Yu, okay?" "All right." Qin Zhan nodded. How could he have the ability to object? The 6 elders were able to trap Qin Zhan, but under the young man's formation, they didn't even have the chance to survive. It could only mean that the cultivation of the young man lying inside was much higher than theirs. His strength was not something they could imagine. However, just when the father and daughter of the Qin family thought that they had temporarily settled down, outside the Qin clan, outside the range of the Four Swords' 5 ultimate god-killing array, Xiao Lu ran towards the Yin clan with a face full of fear. After manipulating the relationship between Qin Yi and the Elders Guild, she took advantage of the chaos and ran out early in the morning. However, as soon as she ran out, the Qin clan was surrounded by the array. Xiao Lu was so scared that she didn't dare to look back and directly reported to the Yin clan. Inside the Yin clan, Yin Zhubi, who was rejected by Qin Yi, hit the servant with his palm. The servant spurted out a big mouthful of blood and died on the spot. There's no need to be so angry at the servant. Yin Li shook his head helplessly. He knew that his son was humiliated by Qin Yi. Don't worry. Father will definitely make the Qin clan pay the price. Father, Qin Yi will definitely belong to me, right? Yin Zhubi said with a sharp gaze. Yin Li nodded. Of course. My son is the most outstanding man in the martial continent, the leader of the younger generation. That stinky girl must be blind to not choose you. One day, it will be too late for her to regret. Yin Li patted Yin Zhubi's body. Later, go and choose a servant girl. Vent your anger. Don't hurt your body. I understand. As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Lu's anxious voice came from outside the door. Young master, something happened in the Qin clan. The person was still outside the door, but the voice came in. Yin Li's gaze was cold. Didn't I tell you not to come back without my summons? Master, the Qin clan is surrounded by a mysterious array. I can't go in. Xiao Lu explained what had just happened. When she said that there was a man hiding in Qin Yi's room, Yin Zhubi's face was filled with killing intent. Who is that man? I don't know. I've never seen him before. Miss seems to be very familiar with him. As soon as Xiao Lu finished speaking, she heard a slap coming toward her. With a slap, blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth. She fell to the ground from Yin Zhubi's slap. Bitch, didn't I tell you that you have to report to me if any man appears by Qin Yi's side? I didn't. Xiao Lu only felt that she was too unlucky. I saw that man for the first time today. I came to report immediately. Qin Yi isn't a casual woman. How could she be so intimate with a man she met for the first time? Yin Zhubi didn't believe her at all. He grabbed Xiao Lu's sleeve. Speak, what else? Xiao Lu was terrified to the extreme. The Qin clan's elders made things difficult for Qin Zhan. In order to protect his daughter, Qin Zhan decided to take Qin Yi away. However, I knew that I couldn't let them go just like that. So, I planned to let the Qin clan's elders know about the man in Qin Yi's room. Now, the elders should have trapped Qin Zhan and his daughter. She didn't see what happened after and ran out. Naturally, she didn't know that the 7 elders were all dead. From the looks of it, that array is the Qin clan's dragon-trapping array? Yin Li touched his chin. I heard that Qin Zhan modified the dragon-trapping array, and its power increased greatly. I didn't expect it to be able to surround the entire Qin clan. Father, how is Qin Yi now? The Qin clan's elders are a group of old people who only care about benefits. I think that father and daughter are in a terrible situation now. Hee. Yin Li was in a good mood. This is the consequence of offending our Yin clan. While speaking, Yin Zhubi had already walked out. Buyer, where are you going? Qin clan. Now is the time when Qin Yi needs me the most. If I help her solve the crisis, what reason does she have to reject me? Chapter 707. What I said makes sense. Let's see how the father and daughter are going to embarrass themselves. Yin Li replied with a laugh. He felt that his son was too smart. The members of the Yin clan arrived outside the Qin clan. As expected, they saw a towering array formation that completely covered the Qin clan. The Yin clan is here too. Are they here to add insult to injury? It seems that the Yin clan is still the strongest in the future of the martial Dao continent. I thought that the Qin clan would rise up, but I didn't expect them to seal themselves here today. Haven't you heard? The Qin clan's patriarch, Qin Zhan's only daughter, Qin Yi, rejected the marriage proposal of the Yin clan. Now the two clans have completely fallen out. Yin Li and Yin Zhubi's faces turned ugly when they heard the gossip. But when they thought of the Qin clan's father and daughter situation, they smiled indifferently. Brother Qin, what happened? Yin Li shouted. In the eyes of the others, they thought that he cared about the Qin clan. On the other hand, Yin Zhubi was infuriated after hearing their words. Qin Yi, after I get you, I will humiliate you every night. After making up his mind, Yin Zhubi changed back to young Master Qian's appearance and asked the crowd, Does anyone know what happened in the Qin clan? I'm Yanjubi. My fiancée, Qin Yi, is still inside. Yanjubi thought that he was already engaged to Qin Yi today. After all, the Qin clan's people were trapped inside, and no one knew what happened in the morning. Everyone looked at each other. Was the information wrong? Was the Qin clan really engaged to the Yin clan? Looking at the worried faces of the Yin clan's people, it didn't seem like they had shed all pretense of cordiality. We don't know either. Yeah, the array suddenly appeared and cut off the Qin clan's connection with the outside world. I had something to ask of the Qin clan, but now I can't even enter. Yin Li's eyes flashed, and he took a few steps forward. He saluted the 4 swords, 5 ultimate god-killing array, and shouted, "This morning, I heard that the Qin clan's patriarch had some conflict with the Elders Guild. I'm willing to mediate. Please stop." Hearing his voice, the crowd once again imagined the plot. It turned out that the people from the Yin family were here to do good deeds. And now, within the Qin clan, Qin Zhan was actually in conflict with the Elders Council. Yin Gu had never seen the improved version of the dragon trapping array, so he really thought that this array, full of killing intent, was the Qin clan's dragon trapping array. However, his stern voice was transmitted to the Qin family, but there was no response. The formation was still there. Inside the Qin family, Qin Yi was currently taking care of Lin Yu. Although Lin Yu was currently in a state of deep sleep, Qin Yi still felt that being by Lin Yu's side was the safest. "Daughter, it seems like the Yin family is here too." Qin Zhan shook his head helplessly. For the past few hours, he had been watching Qin Yi taking care of people. This was the first time he had seen his daughter like this. A grown girl couldn't be kept at home. It turned out that what Qin Yi said about having someone she liked was true. "Daughter, will they come in?" Qin Zhan was a little worried. If the Yin clan were to see that the 7 elders were all dead, perhaps this ambitious father and son pair would directly swallow up the Qin clan. They won't. Qin Yi slightly raised her eyebrows and slowly shook her head. "Brother Lin, you said that they can't come in, so they definitely can't come in. You don't even trust me as your father." Qin Zhan laughed at himself. Since Qin Yi was confident, then he had nothing to worry about. Despite Yin Ji's clamoring outside, no one in the Qin clan responded to him. "Bastard, you don't even give this old man face." In the outside world, Yin Ji's gaze was much sharper. With so many people looking at him, Yin Ji's original plan was to mediate the conflict between the elders and Qin Zhan. Then, Qin Zhan would have no choice but to give him face. At that time, his son would be able to get Qin Yi, and he would also be able to swallow up the Qin clan's property. But now, the first step of his plan was obviously going to fail. Elders of the Qin clan, Yin Gu and Qin Zhan, are sworn brothers. If you continue to make things difficult for my in-laws, then don't blame the Yin clan for intervening. Yin Ji's righteous words made many people feel that the Yin clan's action was extremely loyal. It seems that Qin Yi and Yin Zhubi have successfully gotten engaged. Otherwise, Yin Gu wouldn't have to go to this extent. Yes, it's Qin Zhan and his daughter's blessing to have a Yin clan as their in-laws. At this time, they're still willing to help him. However, Yin Ji's words still didn't get any response. "Father," Yin Zhubi had already lost his patience. "If the elders of the Qin clan don't buy it, we'll just fight our way in." My son is right. Since those 7 old men don't even give this old man face, we'll just take the opportunity to get rid of them. It's killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Father is wise. The father and son of the Yin clan calculated. Immediately, dozens of disciples of the Yin clan were sent forward. "Break the formation for me," Yin Gu ordered. Those disciples of the Yin clan were all in the unfirm realm. At this moment, they all channeled their cold air and gathered it into icy light pillars, directly blasting towards the 4 swords, 5 ultimate god-killing formation. "Father, are we confident?" "Of course. It's just a formation formed by 7 Grand Supremes. We're enough to break it." As soon as Yan Li finished speaking, he heard a series of screams. "What?" He widened his eyes and saw that all the people of the Yin clan who tried to break the formation had their bodies penetrated by an invisible force. At this moment, corpses appeared on the ground one after another. In an instant, everyone was shocked, and they all retreated. What kind of formation is this? Terrifying, too terrifying. Let's go further away. Everyone in the Marshall continent was shocked and distanced themselves from the Qin clan. At first, they thought that this formation was just a dragon-trapping formation that had no power and could only trap people. But now, it seemed that this formation not only had an invincible defense, but its rebounding force was comparable to all the offensive formations in the Marshall continent. In their knowledge, there was no formation that had such terrifying power. Father, Yin Zhubi was so frightened that his breathing became chaotic, and he subconsciously retreated dozens of steps. The other members of the Yin clan didn't even bother to collect the corpses and immediately retreated outside the Qin clan. Let's go back first. Yin Ji's old face turned green from fear. He didn't dare to hesitate for half a day. Everyone returned to the Yin clan. This formation is definitely not the Qin clan's dragon-trapping formation. Yin Gu regained his senses with great difficulty and pondered. If the Qin clan's dragon-trapping formation was so powerful, it wouldn't have been our Yin clan's turn to rise. Xinjiang would have already dominated this continent. Chapter 708. Father, you're right. Swallowing his saliva, Yin Zhubai regained his composure with an ashen face. Then what should we do about Qini? Idiot, you're still thinking about that stinking girl. Can't you see that my Yin family has suffered great losses today? A stern and angry voice came, directly scolding Yin Zhubai away. This child will withdraw first. Yin Zhubai's face was enraged as he returned to his residence on his knees. At this moment, Xiao Lu was still waiting. Young master, did the Qin family give in to you? As soon as Xiao Lu's voice fell, she felt a burning pain on her face. Bitch, if it weren't for you, my Yin family wouldn't have lost dozens of elite disciples. The more Yin Zhubai looked, the angrier he became. He grabbed Xiao Lu's neck and stuck out his tongue. You've been by Qini's side for so many years. You should be able to imitate her, right? Young master, Xiao Lu could already feel Yin Zhubai's other hand touching her leg. After a few cups of tea, Yin Zhubai shook off Xiao Lu with satisfaction. You did well. Don't forget about returning to the Qin family in the future. Stay by this young master's side. Xiao Lu had many wounds on her body, but she was different from Yin Zhubai. She wanted to continue, but seeing that Yin Zhubai had finished, she could only give up. Thank you, young master. Thank you. Qin family. After everyone left, Lin Yu's aura gradually stabilized. And in Lin Yu's body, a majestic suction force was constantly being released. In the Four Swords' 5 ultimate god-killing array, the 9 Emperor artifacts were hidden. At this moment, the power of the Emperor artifacts began to gather towards Lin Yu. Father, Qini called Xinjiang worriedly. Xinjiang only felt the majestic power pouring into Lin Yu's body. Daughter, this is not a power we can understand. Where did this young man come from? If this boy is a good person, then he is indeed thousands of times better than Yin Zhubai. But if he's a bad person, we father and daughter, he can't be a bad person. Qini interrupted Xinjiang. Father, it was big brother Lin Yu who helped me defeat the 7th elder. Xinjiang suddenly realized why Qini was able to defeat the 7th elder with a single palm strike and kill him. Qini then explained what had happened. Above the desert, the bridgekeeper's eyes were cold, and the hand he placed on the bridge suddenly trembled. You're not dead yet. This power can't appear. He could clearly feel that Lin Yu was about to break through to the next realm. Once he broke through, he would pose a threat to him and even his master. Master is about to awaken. The plan that has been laid out for countless years cannot be destroyed by my hands. The bridgekeeper closed his eyes and transmitted his voice. Outside the abyss of despair, Yamato's heart suddenly trembled. He half knelt and lowered his head toward the sky desert universe, as if he had received an order. The next moment, Yamato issued an arrest warrant. 9 Nether, Xuandu, and Xianghua issue a Dao World arrest warrant for Lin Yu. At the same time, The three great Tao masters attacking outside the Feng Yi Tao world received this order. The three of them looked at each other in astonishment. Didn't they say that Lin Yu was trapped in the abyss of despair? The commander personally issued an arrest warrant. It can't be wrong. How did that kid escape? Don't worry about that for now. Inform everyone in the Sky Desert to look for Lin Yu. The three of them stopped attacking and temporarily guarded outside the Feng Yi Tao world. At the same time, they issued the first arrest warrant in the entire Sky Desert universe. Lin Yu's portrait instantly covered every corner of the Sky Desert universe. At the border of the Sky Desert, the Yin family also saw the portrait. Who was this person? He actually attracted the attention of all the Tao worlds. Recently, the Sky Desert has been in turmoil. I heard that the various Tao worlds have started a war. After the 10,000 Beast War Emperor, the Sky Spill Tao world was directly destroyed. The situation is turbulent. I don't know if our border will be affected. In the Yin family's hall, Yin Li and Yin Zhubi were looking at Lin Yu's portrait. Are you sure it's him? Yin Zhubi asked Little Green, who was in front of him. I can't be wrong. Young master, this is the young man in Qin Yi's boudoir. The Qin family actually has such a big shot. It's no wonder that they have the confidence to challenge the Yin family now. Yin Li said coldly, it seems that the array formation probably came from this big shot. In that case, it's even more impossible for us to break that array formation. Yin Li fell into deep thought because he could not take revenge. Yin Zhubi laughed cruelly at that moment. Father, we naturally can't deal with a big shot from beyond this heaven. However, why don't we make good use of this arrest warrant? What do you mean? Yin Li's eyes flashed. He had never had such a bold plan. Could it be that you want to inform the Tao Masters that Lin Yu is here? That's right. When the time comes, not only can we eradicate the Qin family, but we might also enlighten the Yin family if the Tao Masters are happy. Yin Zhubi's hatred for Qin Yi and Lin Yu increased day by day. At that moment, killing intent appeared on his face. If we're not careful when dealing with the Tao world, I'm afraid we'll attract a calamity of extermination. Father, how can we not take risks in order to achieve great things? Besides, we're doing a meritorious deed now. As long as we're careful, we won't get burned. Yin Zhubi patted Yin Li's shoulder. Father, you also want the Yin family to flourish in your hands, don't you? After hearing that, Yin Li pondered for a while and finally agreed to this matter. Outside the despair abyss, the barrier that had been sealed for 10 years finally opened slowly at that moment. You didn't need me to borrow the power of the Sky Desert. You died first. He stood up. He had now recovered to his peak and could once again enter the half-step heavenly immortal state. However, before he could do that, the barrier dissipated. This also meant that the king of demon beasts, the myriad Beast War Emperor, who symbolized the history of the despair abyss, was dead. Zhou Lingtian, you and I have fought for 10,000 years. However, I finally won. He's maniacal laughter spread in all directions as his figure entered the despair abyss. His gaze landed on a 9-colored egg. This 9-colored egg gathered demon chi. Beside the egg, there was a human-shaped myriad Beast War Emperor. Zhou Lingtian, you couldn't even preserve your combat body in the end. He shook his head and smiled with the compassionate attitude of a victor. His gaze once again landed on the other side of the 9-colored egg. It was a simple grave. In front of the grave, a stunning woman was half kneeling on the ground. She seemed to have been guarding this place for a long time. Song Ling, I didn't expect you to reveal your true body. He, who was from the same generation, naturally recognized her. Your appearance is not inferior to that of the past. If you had agreed to become my Tao companion 10,000 years ago, we wouldn't have come this far. He sighed and landed beside Tao Master Songling. Chapter 709. He looked at the tomb beside his feet. Liu Youqi, you are also a hero of your generation. Unfortunately, you are buried in this land of demonic beasts. As soon as Yamato's voice fell, he suddenly waved his hand, and a tyrannical force of destruction swept towards the tomb. Stop! Tao Master Tsongling gritted her teeth and rushed forward to stop him, but she was forced back by Yamato's golden crow fire. Senior Lu Yochi's tomb burned at the same time. The corpse inside turned into ashes. Tsongling roared, and the Tao of equalization erupted. However, Yamato smiled and used his golden crow fire to hit Tsongling's shoulder. I don't need to say more about the difference between you and me, right? Yamato's fingers formed a claw, and the injured Tsongling was sucked into his hand. He closed the distance between him and Tsongling and took a deep breath. How fragrant. Tsongling, I am now the lord of the sky desert. Am I not worthy of you? Get lost, Tao Master Tsongling roared. However, when she tried to struggle, the golden crow fire started burning her clothes. Tell me, am I really the strongest man? You will never be. 10,000 years ago, you were not as good as the Zither Emperor. 10,000 years later, you are not as good as Lin Yu. The Zither Emperor and Lin Yu are destined to be defeated by me. Yamato laughed as the golden crow fire continued burning. Tao Master Tsongling's arms and calves were already exposed. Tsongling, I want to see how long you can be so stubborn. Then, blood flowed from the corner of Tao Master Tsongling's mouth. However, she could not resist the invasion of the golden crow fire. Seeing her persevering bitterly, Yamato's interest grew. A wretched look appeared in his eyes. This place is the burial ground of two of my mortal enemies. Look, how about I execute you right here and now? Bastard. The more Tao Master Tsongling resisted, the more excited Yamato became. However, at this moment, Yamato received a voice transmission. It was Lin Yu's location. He had found it. You said that Lin Yu is stronger than me. Then I will go and capture Lin Yu right now and let you watch how I torture him to death. Yamato understood that compared to Tsongling's matter, Lin Yu was more important. He did not dare to be careless at all. His figure turned into a flame avatar and disappeared on the spot. Biggie didn't do anything to trap Tao. Lord Tsongling. Tsongling knew that this was because the current he already had incomparable confidence. The heavenly desert was under the control of the master. But he was not worried that she would escape because she could not escape. Sect Master Tsongling gritted her teeth and used all her strength to disperse the golden crow fire on the grave. With tears in her eyes, she buried Lu Yochi again. A cold gust of wind blew through the abyss of despair. Even though this peerlessly beautiful woman was a Tao Lord, she still seemed incredibly lonely and helpless at this moment. Lin Yu, you can't lose. As soon as he finished speaking, cracking sounds could be heard from the nine-colored egg. Cracks appeared, and a beam of light shot up into the sky. Around the Qin family, the members of the Yin family were already on standby. Will anything happen? Yin Li's heart was in his throat. He had sent someone to the Tao world a month ago to inform them. Based on the speed of the Yin family's worship, that person should have informed the people of the heavenly desert Tao world by now. No, the people of the Tao world should have received it already. Yin Zhubi forcefully suppressed his nervousness. He did not know when this Tao Lord would arrive. Apart from being nervous, Yin Zhubi was also looking forward to seeing these Tao Lords kill Lin Yu. If he could get a reward from the Tao Lord, he would return to Qin Yi. If not, Yin Zhubi would vent the hatred in his heart. As soon as the two of them finished speaking, they heard a sudden burst of fire in the sky. What's that? The sun has set? No, who is that? The golden crow's cry was heard. Yamato's figure had already appeared in front of everyone. His Tao Lord aura spread, and millions of people in the entire martial Tao continent knelt down due to the pressure. Tao Lord, the Tao Lord has arrived. The strongest existence in the heavenly desert universe, the Tao Lord. Everyone knelt down in unison. Everyone in the Yin family was breathing rapidly, as Yamato had appeared above them. At the same time, 3 more pressures appeared in the sky. The 3 great Tao Lords, Xuandu, Nine Nether, and Xianghua, had arrived at the same time. The 4 great Tao Lords have arrived together. Damn it, who exactly is that person in the Qin family? He actually attracted the 4 great Tao Lords. While everyone was shocked, Yamato's gaze had already landed on the 4 swords, 5 ultimate god-killing array. Linyu, do you think you can stop me with this? He took a step forward and pressed down with one hand. However, a moment later, the aura of the 9 great emperor treasures above the god-killing array formed a palm force that blasted toward Yamato. Boom! Yamato was forced back a few steps by the palm force. He was astonished. This person could actually control the 9 great emperor treasures at the same time? No, the 9 great emperor treasures are automatically protecting their master. Yamato narrowed his eyes slightly. The golden crow flames covered the sky and rained down on the god-killing array. Rumbling sound spread throughout the martial continent. Endless sparks shot out, and the surrounding people were affected by the golden crow flames. They didn't even have the chance to resist before they were all burned to ashes. Sir Dowlord, we're still here. Yin Yin screamed in pain. Yin Zhubi was the same. Xiao Lu and the others had tried to dodge a few times, but the golden crow flames rained down like rain. With their cultivation, they couldn't dodge at all. Sir Dowlord, I was the one who discovered Linyu here. Don't kill me, Dowlord. Yinjubi knelt down and begged for mercy. Even though Yamato could hear his words, he didn't even have the right to respond. Not only did all living beings die, even the entire continent was turned into a sea of purgatory fire under the golden crow flames. Just as Linyu said, the god-killing array became the only safe place. At this moment, Qin Yi and Qin Zhan's faces were filled with fear. What's happening outside? Qin Zhan watched as the flames rained down from the sky and bombarded the array barrier. Although they didn't injure him, the sudden transformation of the world into a sea of fire still deeply shocked him. Inside her room, Qin Yi held Linyu's hand tightly. Sweat seeped out of her palms, and her pretty face was extremely pale. Roars of death kept coming from the outside. It was the sound of everyone dying in pain. And inside the Qin family, the temperature kept rising. Even though Qin Yi tried to circulate her cold energy to resist, she was already starting to struggle. Right at the moment when Qin Yi was speaking, the sound of the spirit formation protecting them actually sounded from the sky above. Under the continuous attacks of the golden crow flames, the 4-sword 5 ultimate god-killing array finally dissipated completely. Linyu, this king is here. Yamato's voice came. He stepped down from the sky and instantly locked onto Lin Yu's position. Chapter 710. Yamato's voice sounded like a soul-chasing emissary. Everyone in the Qin family started running towards the outside. They had no intention of stopping because the sea of fire outside had already told them that the people who came in were Tao Lord-level existences. If they didn't leave, they would all die here. However, they didn't know that even if they left, the golden crow fire would still lock onto them and kill them all. Yamato wouldn't let anyone leave alive. Linyu come out. Yamato spoke again. Inside the room, Qin Zhan and Qin Yi were trembling all over. Father, you run. Qin Yi said a few words with difficulty. We can't leave, we can't leave. Qin Zhan shook his head in despair. At first, he didn't know what was happening outside. But now, when the 4 people appeared outside the courtyard, Qin Zhan knew. Even though he was in the Law Realm, he found it extremely difficult to breathe in front of these people. This made Qin Zhan understand that these people were the legendary Great Emperors of Balance. In the starry sky, 4 Great Emperors of Balance appeared at the same time. This meant that they were Tao Lord-level existences. But what Qin Zhan didn't understand was why 4 Tao Lord-level experts had come to his small Qin family today. Everything that happened in the past month had made him feel all kinds of strange and even despair. What to do? What to do? Qin Zhan's trembling voice sounded. He swallowed his saliva, and his gaze fell on Linyu. It's the people he brought. Qin Zhan immediately thought of Linyu. It was also because of Lin Yu's appearance that this place became like this. Seeing this, Qin Yi was afraid that Qin Zhan would hand Lin Yu over. She subconsciously opened her arms and blocked in front of Lin Yu. Father, big brother Lin Yu didn't do anything. Hearing this, Qin sighed and said, I know. Although I don't have much ability, I understand things. He glanced at the people outside the door. They killed the innocent. As soon as they appeared on this continent, they started a massacre. If such people want to kill this young man, it means that this young man can stop their massacre. After saying this, Qin's eyes revealed decisiveness, and he rushed out. Father! Qin was terrified. She tightly held on to Lin Yu, but Qin had already gone outside. Don't come out. Guard him. Qin just wanted to come out when she heard Qin's words. Father will protect you even if I have to die. Qin's voice fell. A mere law realm cultivator was actually facing 4 Dao Masters. The one I want to see is not you. Day's cold voice resounded. The moment he spoke, an irresistible pressure pressed down on Qin's body. Bang! Before Qin had time to react, his knees had already smashed into the ground because of this force. Qin's says, Father. Qin's eyes were filled with tears, but outside, Qin clenched his teeth and endured the pain. He smiled and said, Daddy is fine. Don't worry. After saying that, Qin placed his hands on the ground and slowly got up. However, just as his figure rose and fell slightly, the pressure became even stronger. Boom! This time, Qin's entire body smashed onto the ground. Yamato and the other 3 approached step by step, until they passed by Qin. They didn't even look at him. Stop! However, Qin grabbed Yamato's foot. Yamato was lying on the ground, unable to move his body. Even with all his strength, he could only move one hand. However, even if Qin could only move one hand, he still had to stop the heat. Yamato continued to move forward. At this moment, all the bones in Qin's body shattered, and he died on the ground. Stepping into the room, they saw Lin Yu lying on the bed and Qin, who was still sobbing. She could already hear the sound of her father dying. Why? Why are you doing this? Qin stared at the 4 people in front of her. Even though they were Dao Masters, Qin wasn't afraid at all. Moreover, her hand had never let go of Lin Yu from the beginning to the end. So you're hiding in a woman's arms. Yamato smiled contemptuously and stepped forward again. His divine sense swept over Lin Yu's body, but the next moment, a repulsive force directly pushed Yamato back. What? Yamato's eyes widened. He saw a thunderous intent turned into divine sense and burst out from Lin Yu's body. When he wanted to scan the situation inside Lin Yu's body, it was directly pushed back. Not only Yamato, but at this moment, all 4 Dao Masters felt the repulsive force from this divine sense. Rumble. Divine sense blasted out from the boudoir, and the 4 Dao Masters instantly retreated. Nine Nether and the others narrowed their eyes and were shocked. Lin Yu, this brat, had become so much stronger. Commander, if we don't get rid of this brat, he'll be a big threat in the future. That's right, kill him. But we can't go in now. This divine sense is so overbearing that it can actually affect our equalization Dao intent. Lin Yu's divine sense had been tempered by 30 million feet of lightning. Even the myriad Beast War Emperor didn't dare to enter the lightning pool, so these people were naturally no match for him. Then burn all of you to death. Yamato's killing intent rose. He originally wanted to bring Lin Yu back and humiliate him in front of Dao Master Congling, but he didn't expect this brat to be so difficult to deal with. In the small room in front of them, the divine sense storm was constantly surging. It could even injure divine senses at the level of the equalization Dao intent. Even they didn't dare to barge in recklessly. In the storm, Qin's tears flowed freely, but she still held on tightly to Lin Yu's hand. Father is dead. Brother Lin Yu, you can't leave me again, she cried, but in the next moment, a suction force came from Lin Yu's body and directly sucked Qin, who had collapsed at the door in. He was still a little bit away from fully awakening. But now, Lin Yu could already use the time-space value. In the outside world, the golden crow flames covered the sky and covered the earth, instantly enveloping Qin's boudoir. At this moment, the entire boudoir was burning like the continent's sun. Roiling flames were mixed with endless waves of energy as they surged out incessantly. Even the three Tao Lords of Cheonghua had to put some distance between themselves and the Golden Crow flames under such a hellish state. They were afraid that they would be affected by the Golden Crow flames. This flame was the strongest and hottest flame in the world. Under the desert, unless one was a demon beast with a thick skin like the myriad beast war emperor, no one else could resist it. In an instant, the Qin family was completely burned by the flames. 2 hours, 6 hours. This continent was completely spread by the Golden Crow flames. All the corpses were also turned into ashes at this moment. The Qin family was the same. Any building couldn't hold on for long under the Golden Crow flames. All of them were turned into ashes. Chapter 711. Even Qin Yi's room, where Lin Yu was visibly turning to ash at this moment. The room was completely filled with flames. Commander, Lin Yu should be dead. No one can last so long under the Golden Crow fire. Even Liu Youqi and the 10,000 Beast War Emperor couldn't. Cheonghua and Xiandu spoke one after the other, implying that they wanted the heat to stop. After all, if the flames continued to burn like this, they wouldn't be able to hold on with their cultivation. We gave him a quick death. That brat got off easy, but he clearly hadn't had enough. He hadn't tortured Lin Yu properly, nor had he had the chance to make Dao Master Songling admit that he was the strongest man. He still felt like there was a fishbone stuck in his throat. However, at this moment, everyone who had retracted their gazes saw 3 figures standing in the room where the flames were gradually dissipating. Qin Zhan was standing there perfectly fine. Not only were the 4 Dao Masters in disbelief, even Qin Zhan himself was extremely shocked. Just now, he seemed to have experienced a dream. He could feel that his body had returned to the state it was in 2 hours ago, exactly the same. Beside Qin Zhan was Qin Yi, who was already in Lin Yu's arms. The 4 Dao Masters couldn't sense any aura or cultivation from Lin Yu now. It was as if Lin Yu was no longer a person with cultivation. The 3 emerged from the flames. Lin Yu's gaze was incomparably calm, and he didn't move at all. However, there was an invisible force around him and Qin Yi that blocked all the Golden Crow fire. "Wait for me here," Lin Yu said softly to Qin Yi. The latter's eyes flickered with a gentle glow. From a moment she was on the brink of death until now, another memory kept appearing in her mind. It seemed to be merging with her current memory. "All right," she nodded lightly. Qin Yi let go of Lin Yu. The latter slowly walked forward with a smile on his face. This smile made Nine Nether, who had fought Lin Yu before, feel his heart tighten. There's something strange about this kid. Nine Nether couldn't sense Lin Yu's cultivation, but Lin Yu took a step forward, shrinking the ground into an inch. He was already in front of them, less than 3 meters away. Nine Nether believed that it was impossible for him to achieve this speed. Not only him, but Cheonghua and Xiandu were also speechless for a long time. It was impossible for a mortal to be so fast. They looked at each other and waited for Yamato to speak. "If you had come a day earlier, you might have been able to kill him," Lin Yu said calmly. His voice was filled with confidence, and he didn't feel the slightest bit of fear when facing 4 Dao Lords at the same time. "What should I do? You can't see through my cultivation. Are you afraid?" Lin Yu spoke again as he looked at Dahe. The latter wanted to get angry, but he knew that if he panicked at this moment, he would fall into Lin Yu's trap. "You're not a heavenly sovereign, nor do you look like a great emperor of balance. What realm are you at now?" Yamato looked at Lin Yu solemnly and tried his best to suppress the shock in his heart. "I don't know what realm I'm at. Maybe I'm still lacking." Lin Yu smiled faintly. As soon as he finished speaking, a violent breakthrough force soared into the sky. 30 million feet of thunder tribulation formed a great emperor of balance. Billions of death chi refined a great emperor of balance. At this moment, the 9 emperor treasures were refined by the Golden Crow fire and perfectly integrated into Lin Yu's body, helping him enter the final great emperor of balance. "Yamato, I lured you here on purpose." Lin Yu's lips curled up. He knew when Little Green had escaped. When he had absorbed the 9 Emperor treasures, he had deliberately created the 4-sword 5 ultimate god-killing array to create a big commotion so that the person above the heaven desert would order Yamato to find him as soon as possible. As for the Yin family, they would head to the nearest Dao world, the Xiandu Dao world. The journey on the warship would take about 30 days. Lin Yu understood all of them and had calculated everything. At the last moment, he knew that Yamato would come. He also knew that the Golden Crow fire could refine the 9 Emperor treasures and help him break through the final obstacle. 3 essences in 1. Great Emperor of Balance. Yamato, you helped me. Lin Yu's lips curled up. He couldn't be bothered with Yamato's ashen face. Because in the sky, the last heavenly tribulation from the Bridge Guardian, which was also the biggest heavenly tribulation, had begun to descend. Lin Yu died. Yamato was furious. He understood everything. This brat had been pretending to be dead all this time. His goal was to let the Golden Crow fire refine the 9 Emperor treasures for him. And now he had succeeded. No one could defy Master. No one. Yamato fell into a state of madness. The Zither Emperor was like that. Zhou Yingtian was like that. And you, Lin Yu, are no exception. He roared and retreated with the other Dao Masters. This was because the heavenly tribulation lightning was unprecedentedly huge. The 4 of them could feel that this heavenly tribulation was enough to destroy a Dao realm. However, just as the heavenly tribulation locked on a Lin Yu also looked at the heavenly tribulation. Bridge Guardian, do you dare to come down and fight with me personally? Lin Yu laughed. His voice spread in all directions, directly penetrating the heavenly tribulation lightning and into the ears of the Bridge Guardian. He broke through. That's impossible. The old voice of the Bridge Guardian was filled with fear for the first time. The great Emperor realm of 3 essences in 1 required unimaginable power. How'd he do it? Oh no. The Bridge Guardian suddenly realized that since Lin Yu had successfully broken through, this heavenly tribulation couldn't hurt him at all. But looking at Lin Yu's appearance, he didn't have any intention of stopping the heavenly tribulation. What was he trying to do? The Bridge Guardian wanted to recall the heavenly tribulation, but found that it was too late. Above the Qin family, Lin Yu waved and smiled. Hearing this, Qin immediately stepped forward and faced the heavenly tribulation together with Lin Yu. Do you remember me? Big brother Lin Yu. Qin nodded heavily. Her jade-like hand unconsciously held Lin Yu's hand. At this moment, the 2 of them stood in the sky, looking at each other. They completely ignored the heavenly tribulation lightning that covered the entire star field. Let's borrow the power of this heavenly tribulation to completely awaken your rebirth in paradise. How about it? Okay, I'll listen to you. Qin didn't even look at the heavenly tribulation descending. She nodded lightly. This scene fell into Qin Zhan's eyes. Suddenly, he felt that his daughter seemed to have changed into a different person. Or rather, Qin Zhan had a feeling that Qin was his daughter temporarily. She belonged to this young man from the beginning. I'll accompany you. Lin Yu's right hand wrapped around Qin waist. Let me see how strong the great emperor is after awakening. He was also looking forward to it. The Grand Mist Empress had experienced her 10th reincarnation. She should be at the great perfection stage of the heavenly tribulation. In terms of seniority, the Grand Mist Empress should be higher than Lu Youqi. After awakening, Lin Yu was very curious about which heavenly tribulation intent she could reach. Chapter 712. Oh no, that kid wants to use us again. Commander, calm down. The heavenly tribulation is coming. The 4 Dao Masters had no choice but to retreat. At that moment, a teleportation force appeared on Qin Zhan's body. Then, he was sent back to the Dao realm by Lin Yu. Lin Yu and Qin were also completely engulfed by the heavenly tribulation at that moment. The lightning dragon swept the ground and swallowed the entire continent. The mountains collapsed, the seas split, and the sky collapsed. Die, kill that kid for me. 9 Nether roared. Even after 10 years, his shoulders still hurt a little. The injury caused by Lin Yu's egg actually carried a domineering and irreparable force that prevented his body from recovering, causing him to suffer day and night. Xianghua and Xiandu also looked at each other. They remembered that Lu Youqi had a very high opinion of Lin Yu when he was alive. I like to see what kind of ability this person that the old thing thinks so highly of has. The one who wanted Lin Yu to die the most was probably He. Not to mention that Song Ling had said that Lin Yu was a man who was stronger than him. Just based on how arrogant Lin Yu had been in front of him just now, he had already regarded him as his strongest enemy after the Myriad Beast War Emperor. If the heavenly tribulation can't kill you, then I'll do it myself. He had made up his mind. The heavenly tribulation dissipated, and the entire continent collapsed and dissipated in the starry sky. At the center of the lightning that dissipated, two figures were still standing in the air. Lin Yu still looked calm, and no one could see through his cultivation level. Beside him, Qin Yi's imperial robe fell to the ground. Her hair fluttered without wind, and there were a few more supreme emperor auras between her eyebrows. It was the aura of a superior that could only be condensed by an emperor since ancient times. At that moment, Qin Yi slowly opened her eyes. The moment she opened her eyes, a terrifying aura of cultivation enveloped the entire area. 1 Dao Equilibrium, Great Emperor Realm. 3 Dao Equilibrium, Great Emperor Realm. 7 Dao Equilibrium, Great Emperor Realm. It instantly surpassed He's current cultivation level and reached the 9 Dao Equilibrium, Great Emperor Realm. However, there was still energy left in this soaring cultivation level. The next moment, the Sky Desert universe made cracking sounds as if it was making its last stand. I have lived for 10 generations, and yet you still want to stop me? Qin Yi's cold voice reverberated in all directions as she charged directly into the endless sky. Her cultivation soared again. He had broken through the shackles of the great emperor of Equilibrium Realm in one fell swoop, breaking through the half-step heavenly immortal realm. At this moment, the 4 Dao Lords felt unprecedented pressure. Emperors, human kings. Immortals, one person, one mountain, one person, one world. Immortals were above emperors. Even if they were unwilling and wanted to resist, when the pressure of a heavenly immortal descended, they had no choice but to do so. Crack, crack. Yamato, Xianghua, Xuandu, and Juyo bent their knees and slammed heavily into the void. The 4 Dao Lords knelt down. The sky bridge shook. The bridge keeper disappeared from the bridge. At this moment, Yamato and the bridge keeper fused together again, and both of them became half-step heavenly immortals. Today, I will kill Lin Yu. The pressure on Yamato's body was negated by him, and he slowly stood up. At the same time, Lin Yu looked over. Is this the state you use to defeat the War Emperor of all beasts? He smiled faintly and did not take a second look. Instead, he turned to Qin Yi. How do you feel? Very good. Qin Yi's voice was cold, as if a real empress had awakened from the cycle of reincarnation. At this moment, Qin Yi's aura had reached half-step heavenly immortals. She and he were the only ones who had broken through the taboo of this starry sky, breaking through the realm above the great Emperor of Balance. But soon, Qin Yi looked at Lin Yu gently. Do you want me to deal with him? No, I'll do it myself. Lin Yu's lips curled up. If he let Qin Yi do it now, he would lose face. Moreover, Lin Yu wanted to kill Yamato more than anyone else. The changes here had gradually stabilized. Lin Yu had broken through to Emperor of Equalization, and Empress Qin Yi had completely awakened and become a half-step heavenly immortal. Yamato had borrowed the power of outer space for the second time and merged with the bridge guard. He had also become a half-step heavenly immortal. As for the other 3 Dao Masters, Nai Nether, Xianghua, and Xiandu, they also understood that this battlefield was not something they could participate in. Lin Yu's growth was frighteningly fast. Even if they were now sure that Lin Yu was not at the heavenly immortal realm, they could not see his cultivation level. It was as if they were not at the same level as Lin Yu's dimension. They could not see Lin Yu's cultivation level at all. However, it was not only the star domain that changed. At this moment, in the abyss of despair, the square Tao world also erupted with a shocking aura. In the abyss of despair, the nine-colored egg hatched perfectly. As Tao mastered Song Ling's mind roared, a figure walked out of the egg slowly. The demon beast's egg had hatched a human. Tao mastered Song Ling was puzzled. The figure glanced at Tao mastered Song Ling. With just a glance, Tao mastered Song Ling's injuries healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. The terrifying power of regeneration enveloped her body. This is so powerful. Tao Master Song Ling's body heated up. In the blink of an eye, she was no longer injured. When she looked at the figure again, he had already disappeared. Legend has it that the 10,000 Beast War Emperor cultivated for 10,000 years, but still could not break away from the body of a demon beast and transform into a true human. But Tao mastered Song Ling's breathing was rapid and could not calm down for a long time. He was born in human form. With a glance, her body that had been severely injured by Yamato had completely recovered. The Golden Crow Fire's seemingly invincible injuries could not be healed in a short time with her cultivation level. But that figure only needed a glance. Did he go to find Lin Yu? Tao mastered Song Ling was overjoyed. She suddenly felt that the hope of this star domain was growing. The hope of the human race was Lin Yu. The 10,000 Beast War Emperor had also left hope. At the same time, inside the square Tao world, the Golden Crow Fire that had burned for more than 10 years and the sea of fire that the heaven-reflecting mirror hid from completely disappeared at this moment. A figure also walked out slowly from the center of the sea of fire. He appeared in front of everyone with his back against the countless living beings in the square Tao world. When those people saw this figure, they were shocked and there was deep fear in their eyes. Because this figure was the nightmare of the square Tao world, the Emperor of the Heavenly Emperor Gate. Heavenly Emperor Xiao. Why? Why did Heavenly Emperor Xiao revive? It's over. Sect Master Lin is not back yet. Back then, only Sect Master Lin could resist Heavenly Emperor Xiao. Now that Heavenly Emperor Xiao has returned, what should we do? Resist. Resist with all our strength. Lin Xiao's white hair fluttered and his eyes flickered with vertical pupils. Hearing these people's words, he was too lazy to care about them. Instead, he looked at his own hand. I didn't expect the 10-colored fire to restore 50% of my strength. The 50% that Lin Xiao referred to was not the 50% in the state of Heavenly Emperor Xiao, but 50% of the power of the heaven-reflecting mirror itself. From the damage 10,000 years ago to the transformation into human form, it consumed a lot of power. The current heaven-reflecting mirror had truly recovered a lot of power. This feeling, I remember it should be called half-step heaven immortal. Chapter 7:13. Lin Xiao spoke slowly as he looked at the starry sky in the distance. In an instant, his eyes zoomed in and locked onto a direction that was countless starry skies away. I'm here to help you, my good friend. Lin Yu's figure shifted, and when he appeared again, he was already in the star field of the original Martial continent. The nine-colored egg appeared with him. At this moment, nine-colored egg was filled with a demonic aura, but there was also a hint of coldness in his demonic aura. You. Lin Xiao narrowed his eyes. Who is it? Nine-colored egg ignored him and shifted again, appearing beside Lin Yu. Good fellow. Lin Xiao chuckled and followed him. Swish, swish. Two figures suddenly joined the battlefield. This scene almost caused Nine Nether and the other two to collapse. They could clearly feel the oppressive aura coming from the two people who had just arrived. Half-step heavenly immortals. Half-step heavenly immortals again. And there were two of them. It had been less than an hour since the primordial empress had awakened, but three half-step heavenly immortals had appeared one after another. And from the looks of it, all of them were on Lin Yu's side. Master! Nine-colored egg half knelt and lowered his head in front of Lin Yu. Lin Yu was connected to him by blood, so how could he not know who he was? Good fellow, you appeared in human form as soon as you appeared? He smiled faintly. Do you have a name? Master, please bestow a name. Nine-colored egg's voice resonated in all directions. At this moment, even Dao masters would find it difficult to exist in this place. The three Dao masters' minds shook as they felt that the world had changed. Very good. You were born in the abyss of despair and obtained the inheritance of the myriad beast war emperor. Then, you shall be called Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan. Nine-colored egg's gaze was incomparably firm. From now on, Lin Yuan was his name. Lin Yu helped him up. Half-step heavenly immortal. Interesting. He looked at Lin Xiu again. Old friend, it seems that you have recovered. I thought I could show off, but it's a pity that you were still ahead of me. Lin Yu shook his head helplessly. He could clearly feel how powerful Lin Yu was now. Even if he was now a half-step heavenly immortal, he had no confidence in defeating him. It's okay. I'll have a good fight with you after we settle things here. Lin Yu laughed. He had to admit that Lin Xiu was the best opponent. After all, he had imprinted his own talent. Such a person was like another him in this world. No, I'm here for revenge. Lin Xiu waved his hands. It seemed that after his resurrection, he had lost a lot of his hostility. The golden crow fire and the nine-colored fire had also refined a lot of his hostility. In the next moment, Lin Xiu looked at the Lin Xiu. Xiu is heavenly immortal. Lin Xiu, Xiu, Lin Xiu, Xiu is Xiu Lin Xiu. Xiuzit was this brat who took away most of the golden crow's power. Xiu. Lin Xiu retracted his gaze, and Xiu Lin Xiu felt relieved. But in the next moment, Lin Xiu looked at the three Dao masters again. You guys have been attacking me for so long. Hearing this, the three Dao masters were stunned. We don't know you. Nine Nether immediately explained. When did he offend a half-step heavenly immortal? Impossible, absolutely impossible. This was the first time he saw Lin Yu and the other two half-step heavenly immortals. However, he didn't know that Lin Xiu didn't like to explain. Just as Nine Nether finished explaining, he instantly felt an unprecedented sense of danger. Nine Nether burned all his cultivation, but he didn't even have time to react. His abdomen was directly penetrated by a hand. It was a pale hand, Xiu Tiandi's hand. Decisive and merciless, this was Xiu Tiandi. He slowly pulled his hand out and threw Nine Nether away as if he was throwing trash. Xianghua and Xin Du could see that Nine Nether's eyes were filled with disbelief. A great emperor with 7 Dao equilibrium died, just like that. Run. Damn it. It has nothing to do with me. The two of them still didn't know when they offended such a terrifying person. Lin Yu didn't even look at them. What he cared about was that Lin Yuan had already walked toward he. Is this the last wish of the Wan Shou War Emperor? Lin Yu smiled faintly and felt Lin Yuan's hatred for the Wan Shou War Emperor. For Lin Yuan, this hatred obviously didn't come from himself. The current Lin Yuan was just a newborn baby from a human's perspective. Why would there be hatred? The biggest reason was that the Wan Shou War Emperor injected this emotion into the nine-colored egg when he passed down the inheritance. I have never seen you before. Dahi's eyes were filled with fear. At this moment, he was both Dahi and the bridge guard, but he still had no impression of this person. However, this Lin Yuan was the same as Lin Xiu. They didn't like to reason or explain. In the next moment, the half-step heavenly immortal punched. He blocked it with both hands. With a roar, the star field was directly split into two halves in this collision. The heavenly immortal realm was so terrifying. Rumble. Dahi retreated again and again, his body directly smashing one of the stars. Damn it, you are courting death. Dahi's eyes were scarlet, and a golden crow fire was ignited. His heavenly immortal realm erupted, and he attacked. The flames covered the sky, and the sun directly drowned Lin Yuan. But even if the flames burned on Lin Yuan's body, they couldn't hurt him at all. The strength of this battle body, you are not human. Dahi seemed to have thought of something, but that was impossible. The Wan Shou War Emperor was already dead. The strongest demonic beast in the Sky Desert universe had been killed by him. What was the deal with the heavenly immortal monster? Lin Yuan waved his hand casually, and a hole was immediately pierced through the surrounding golden crow fire. Lin Yuan's figure burst out again, through this hole, and punched at he again. You don't know any techniques, and only know how to fight head-on. He gritted his teeth. However, Lin Yuan's speed and the strength of his battle body had already allowed him to achieve the effect of winning without the support of techniques. In desperation, he knew that it was difficult to dodge and could only attack at the same time. One palm and one fist collided again. Rumble. The surroundings of the starry sky shattered again. The battle between the heavenly immortals caused the sky to collapse and the earth to split. In the distance, Lin Yu suddenly felt a little bored. He began to hold Qin Yi's hand and sat down. The latter was still a little unused to it. After all, the current Qin Yi had fused the memories of 10 lives. Even if she knew that in these 10 lives she had only had one man, Lin Yu, then this man was the one in her heart. But Qin Yi was still a little shy. Chapter 714. The two of them sat upright in the air. The current Qin Yi had naturally completely forgotten about Qin Zhan's existence. And Qin Zhan was not in danger. In the Square Dao world, no one could hurt him now. When Lin Xiu left the Square Dao world, he had already taken care of many people. As for the others, in the Square Dao world where Gue Rulai, Little Buddha, and Di Shi existed, no one would be their opponent. It's a little boring. Lin Yu laughed. This sentence made Qin Yi burst into laughter. You can't stay idle. The Empress gradually put down her majesty. Lin Yu said, yes, I thought I could personally deal with the he, but I didn't expect that Lin Yuan's hatred is greater than mine. Lin Yu also didn't want to snatch with Lin Yuan. After all, the latter represented the last wish of the 10,000 Beast War Emperor. If it couldn't be completed, it might form some kind of rejection in Lin Yuan's body. The best way now was to let Lin Yuan kill the he with his own hands. Your opponent is not Bai Lu, nor is it the bridge keeper. Qin Yi suddenly said, her expression much more solemn. Oh, Lin Yu raised his eyebrows. Seeing this, Qin Yi glanced at him in annoyance. Playing dumb with me again? I'm not playing dumb. Lin Yu shook his head helplessly. At this moment, his gaze was much sharper. I just feel that the few of us still don't have the confidence to win. Although Lin Yuan and Lin Xiu had stepped into the half-step heavenly immortal realm together, this was great news. But above the sky desert, at the end of the sky bridge, that is, the bridge keeper was guarding his master, the true ruler of this starry sky. We definitely can't, but you can. Qin Yi looked at Lin Yu. Her gaze was the same as in her previous life, already filled with endless confidence. I can be sure that the heavenly tribulation just now was directed at you. Qin Yi laughed. Then, why did it come for you? Even when I enter my 10 reincarnation cycles, the existence above the sky desert did not target me. Qin Yi continued. She wanted to tell Lin Yu everything she knew. Of course, maybe Sky Desert wants to target me, but because of you he can't. Lin Yu didn't say anything. He continued, I feel that the existence above the desert is afraid of you. Only those who are afraid of something will think of getting rid of it before it truly matures. Qin Yi's gaze was firm. She looked at Lin Yu with admiration. My man is someone that even those above Sky Desert are afraid of. They have to get rid of him. Tell me, are you the only one who can fight against him? Lin Yu felt an unprecedented pressure. If it had been in the past, he might have been able to roam freely in this world without any restraints. After all, he knew and understood everyone in the Sky Desert universe. However, he could not go to the heavenly desert, nor did he understand it. That was a truly unknown enemy. With that thought, Lin Yu was interrupted by the warmth from his hand. It was Qin Yi holding his hand. Her gentle hand held him tightly. Qin Yi pursed her lips and gave Lin Yu a hug. You can do it. I have a feeling that you can definitely do it. Moreover, only you can do it. Lin Yu didn't say anything. Qin Yi had a second sentence. I can also be sure that the person above Sky Desert is afraid of you. However, at the same time, you have a mission to defeat him. Mission, These two words made Lin Yu suddenly recall that he had transmigrated to this world. He had gone through 100,000 years of reincarnation. The reincarnation happened on the 26th of July. The cycle repeated more than 30 million times. He didn't know why. However, during these 30 million times, he found the teleportation array of the entire world. The teleportation array of this world was like an inescapable net that enveloped this world. No one could see it. Only Lin Yu clearly knew of their existence. Other people could use these teleportation arrays if they wanted to, but they needed Lin Yu to tell them the location. This was one of the biggest doubts in Lin Yu's heart. Why was he the only one who could see these teleportation arrays? Why were teleportation arrays everywhere in the heavenly desert universe? This was obviously not a normal phenomenon. At first, he thought that these teleportation arrays were just leftover energy left behind by people who had used them since ancient times. However, he was the only one who could see this, which obviously overturned this reason. There was also a woman who said it. He would know the answer when he got on the sky bridge and went to the heavenly desert. An answer that had trapped him for 100,000 years. An answer that was the reason why he had the system. Mission. I see. Lin Yu's eyes revealed a look of understanding. He suddenly laughed. All the doubts were on the heavenly desert. He suddenly had a goal and a drive. I see. So he is stopping me from going up. However, in the dark, someone is helping me go up. Lin Yu stood up and returned to the battlefield with Qin Yi. At this moment, he had already dealt with all the other Dao masters. Under the joint attack of the two, Yamato had been defeated, even if he had the strongest realm in this starry sky. But on Lin Yu's side, almost all four of them had the combat strength of a half-step heavenly immortal. Soon, Yamato was defeated. Lin Yuan glanced at Lin Yu. Even if he had the last obsession of the 10,000 Beast War Emperor, when it came to the real fight, he still prioritized Lin Yu. This gaze was hoping to get Lin Yu's consent. Kill. Lin Yu did not hesitate, and still spoke in a calm and indifferent voice. Stop, this seat is the supreme of the human race, this seat. A cracking sound was heard. That was the sound of Yamato being torn apart. This human commander had originally become the true ruler of the heavenly desert universe. However, he met Lin Yu. All of his plans had failed. He was worried that Yamato would not die after being torn apart by Lin Yuan. At the same time, he activated the golden crow fire that he had completely absorbed. This flame burned completely, burning Yamato's battle body and divine consciousness. An ambitious person of a generation, suppressed the Tao world of Fong for 10,000 years, suppressed the abyss of despair for 10,000 years. In the end, he died here, turned into ashes, and his divine body perished. He couldn't be more dead. But Lin Yu did not have any joy because of Yamato's death. After being enlightened by Qin Yi, he now looked at the heavenly desert universe. There, a violent collapse spread throughout the entire heavenly desert universe. At this moment, all the living beings looked up at the sky. Cracks began to appear in the starry sky that had traveled an unknown distance. The universe is about to collapse. How is this possible? What happened? This old man has never seen such a big movement. In the Tao world of Fong, everyone's heart rumbled. And in other places in this starry sky, there were countless living beings. At this moment, all their attention was attracted by this collapse. Chapter 7:15. Xuandu Tao World, Nine Nether Tao World, Azure Tao World, Jade Flower Tao World, Square Tao World. There were also countless itinerant cultivator families like the Qin and Yin families. Everyone in the Sky Desert universe was terrified because the sound of the collapse was even more intense. It's the Sky Bridge, Qin Yi said with a solemn gaze. Lin Yu nodded. Others didn't know what was above the collapse, but he knew the general direction after going up the Sky Bridge. That was the bridge that separated the Sky Desert and the Sky Desert. The Sky Bridge connected the Sky Desert and the Sky Desert. At this moment, the Sky Bridge collapsed. Is it because the bridge guard is dead? Lin Yu pondered. However, the Sky Desert didn't give him any time. A drastic change happened again. Everyone suddenly felt a storm around them. In the starry sky, it should be dead silent and windless. However, at this moment, flowing wind appeared in every corner of the sky desert universe. Glory aura is surging towards the sky desert. Qin-Yi looked around and raised her hand. Her palm force formed a pressure, blocking the flow of glory aura within a radius of 100,000 feet. But in the next moment, this palm force was directly blasted away. It was unstoppable. He is draining this universe. The corners of Lin Yu's mouth raised. There was no fear, only strong combat strength. Very good. I am very curious how strong he is. At this moment, not only was the universe glory aura being extracted, even the people in the Square Dao world began to lose their glory aura. Primordial convergence. This is the God of the universe taking us all back. No, I don't want to die. Everyone sat cross-legged and meditated to stop the loss of glory aura. But no matter what they did, it was useless. Even if they suppressed their glory aura to the extreme and restrained it in their dantian, there was still no effect. In fact, the loss didn't even decrease. Primordial convergence. Mountains and rivers. Rivers. Beasts. Humans. Everything gradually dried up at this moment. If we don't stop it, this universe will be finished. Qin-Yi said worriedly. As for Lin Yuan and Lin Xiao, they looked indifferent. After all, the loss of the glorious Qi didn't seem to affect half-step heavenly immortals. So that's how it is. This is the reason why that thing doesn't want heavenly immortals to appear in this part of the starry sky. Lin Yu once again solved the puzzle in his heart. Everything in this starry sky seemed to become clearer and clearer. In the next moment, Lin Yu charged into the abyss of despair. It was impossible to reach the sky bridge using ordinary methods. But Lin Yu knew a shortcut. At this moment, within the abyss of despair, the 30 million feet lightning pool had completely disappeared. Lin Yu's figure disappeared into the abyss of the lightning pool at an extremely fast speed. Meanwhile, Qin-Yi, Lin Yuan, and Lin Xiao rushed over at the same speed and also entered the abyss. Lin Yu was in front, and the three of them were behind him. Their speed was so fast that it surpassed the limits of what the starry sky could withstand. The last time Lin Yu came here, it took 10 years. This time, he only used 10 breaths of time. On the other side of the abyss, Lin Yu once again arrived at the lotus pond. However, at this moment, he couldn't see the fairyland-like appearance from last time. Now, this place was filled with endless corpses. Below the pond, the lotus flowers had all been burned to ashes and scattered on these corpses. Above the pond, at the source of the sky bridge, Lin Yu and the other three saw a collapsed wooden block. Countless towering trees had once built the sky bridge, and now the sky bridge had collapsed. The glorious Qi of the sky desert world was constantly gathering here. Lin Yu could see that the glorious Qi rushed to the end of the sky bridge. That was the source of all evil, the existence above the sky desert. Lin Yu took a step forward and moved forward again. But in the next moment, it was as if tens of millions of times of pressure had appeared on the pond, directly suppressing Lin Yu's body. At the same time, countless dragon flames suddenly descended from the sky desert, locking onto Lin Yu, opening their fangs and bloody mouths. The dragon flames were like the sun falling onto the earth. The corners of Lin Yu's mouth curled up. The 8 great void revolved, and the eternal night descended. The fire of light, the darkness of darkness. In an instant, this world was divided. Lin Yu stood with his hands behind his back and walked forward step by step. In the eternal night, light could not enter, and the dragon flames were forced back step by step. And the 3 heavenly immortals were also shocked by Lin Yu's strength. This was the strongest divine ability of the sky desert universe. The 4 of them pushed away the dragon flames, and in the next moment, they were faced with a thunderstorm. "You still want to stop me?" Lin Yu waved his hand, and Azura's phantom appeared. His hands were supporting the sky, and his body was covered with lightning, mixing with the lightning in the sky. Both were extreme changes of the heavenly tribulation. At this moment, the world was filled with lightning. And when the lightning canceled each other out, Lin Yu was already halfway there. The battle between him and the sky desert had already started the moment the dragon fire had descended. Indeed, changes appeared in front of the four of them again. Countless ancient demonic beast phantoms appeared above their heads. Exterminating apes. Eight-winged demon emperor python. There were even more demonic beasts that had once appeared in this starry sky and were now nowhere to be found. They covered the sky desert and descended towards everyone. This time, Lin Yu didn't make a move. Because Lin Yuan had already made a move. How can I let you be in the limelight? Lin Xiu chuckled that he was already killed by Lin Yuan. He naturally didn't want to fall behind this demonic beast. Qin was the same. After 10 lifetimes of cultivation, she really wanted to know how far her current strength was from the sky desert. The sounds of battle continued. Lin Yu passed through the battlefield and heard the roars of countless demonic beasts. The three half-step heavenly immortals pushed through the sky and opened up the safest path for him. At this moment, Lin Yu had already walked 70% of the distance. Only the last 30% was left, and he would be able to go to the sky desert to meet his destined enemy and unravel all the secrets. However, at this moment, a pair of eyes suddenly opened above the sky desert. This pair of eyes carried endless majesty as if it was the ruler of heaven and earth. The moment it opened its eyes, Lin Yu's world suddenly darkened. It wasn't that he activated the eternal night, but that pair of eyes changed the space he existed in. When Lin Yu returned to normal, he actually returned to the abyss of despair again. All the efforts just now seemed to have been cut off. Lin Yu frowned. Is this your power? Can it change space and time at will? Or can it control all the creatures in this universe? Lin Yu was more willing to believe in the former. Unfortunately, I saw it. The corners of Lin Yu's mouth raised, and he took a step forward and entered the teleportation array again. In the next moment, Lin Yu appeared at the original 70% position and returned to the sky desert. Chapter 716. He did not know why there was a teleportation formation here. If he wanted to know the answer, he had to go up. Those eyes were filled with shock and fear as they looked at him again. At this moment, Lin Yu's surroundings started to change again. Enough. Lin Yu's cold voice sounded. The great void, 8 divisions behind him, was activated to the maximum. The Azura appeared once more, like a demon king in human form. Yiksha transformed into a god that symbolized death. The heavenly dragon coiled in the sky like the overlord of the beasts. The golden rock spread its wings, and the 4 divisions became one. Lin Yu's eyes shone brightly as he looked at the eyes in the sky. I am the heavens. The domineering voice once again affected the surrounding space. In the next moment, Lin Yu said Azura's third move. Not the heavens. All of a sudden, his rapidly sinking body began to reverse the direction of his body and rise upwards. In other words, it wasn't Lin Yu who changed his direction, but rather heaven and earth. Azura of the Great Void, 8 divisions existed for the sake of defying. He reversed everything and everything. At this moment, Lin Yu did not return to the abyss of despair. Instead, he appeared in the endless desert. When he opened his eyes again, Lin Yu was surrounded by an endless desert, a vast expanse of white desert. There was no one or any living thing in sight. There was nothing here. Even sound seemed to be a luxury. At this moment, Lin Yu was alone. The 3 half-step heavenly immortals and the beasts from the battle had all disappeared. Lin Yu's mind moved. A vast expanse of white sand appeared before his eyes. It turned slowly, a desert formed by white bones. So this is the endless desert. He smiled faintly and walked forward step by step. No one could leave footprints on the endless desert, because no one had ever come up here. But now, Lin Yu had left his footprints. He walked for a long time, but he did not know the exact time. At this time, there was no concept of time. Lin Yu didn't know if the 3 heavenly supreme immortals who helped him deal with the demonic beast phantoms would be able to come up. If Xiao Chun had not used falsified heaven to reverse everything, the existence above the heavenly desert, who originally wanted to chase him away, ended up delivering him up instead. Perhaps Lin Yu himself wouldn't be able to come to this world so easily. He continued walking. Still, nothing appeared. 1 year, 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years. Lin Yu didn't know how far he had walked. Only when he didn't stop walking did she smile helplessly. I see. He looked behind him. The footprints led to where he came from in the past, but they were gradually disappearing. Lin Yu knew that he was trapped in the desert, trapped in this starry sky. It was as if he had been trapped on that day for 100,000 years. If he couldn't get out, then this time he might be trapped here forever. I've been trapped for a long time. If I'm trapped by you again, wouldn't I lose face? Lin Yu spread his hands. His eyes flashed, and the space-time value in his body went berserk. The space-time around his body began to flow rapidly. 10,000 years, 20,000 years, 50,000 years. This time, Lin Yu discovered the change in the space-time value. Not only could he become his past self, but he could also become his future self. Lin Yu's cultivation also soared crazily at this moment. When I use up all the space-time value and cultivate for another 100,000 years, when I break out of here, do you think you can still stop me? Lin Yu's laughter spread in all directions. It was at this moment that the desert of white bones began to tremble for the first time. I found you. Lin Yu's lips curled up, and he stepped on the desert. Rumble. The desert of millions of feet was directly stepped on by this foot. Falsified heaven. Lin Yu reversed the space again. At this moment, the desert appeared above his head and fell rapidly. At the same time, Qin Yi and the other two also appeared here at the same time. That is, the three of them looked at the sky in shock. Their endless white sand fell like a rainstorm, and in the depths of the white sand, a stone coffin gradually appeared. This stone coffin appeared on a mountain, an inverted mountain, and the appearance of the mountain shocked everyone again. It was a mountain full of white bones. At first glance, it looked as if hundreds of millions of people had pushed the stone coffin up together, and finally it turned into a mountain of white bones with the stone coffin on top of it. That is the existence above the desert. Qin Yi's breathing was rapid. Not only her, but other than Lin Yu, the other three could not help but feel nervous after the appearance of the white bone coffin. They could feel a sense of oppression coming from the stone coffin, the complete aura of a celestial being. Lin Yuan did not know martial arts and had no distracting thoughts. He could sense the threat of the other party just by intuition. Master, we can't beat it. After Lin Yuan said that, a burst of pressure suddenly erupted from the stone coffin and directly descended on the four of them. Rumble. The four of them vomited blood at the same time. He defeated 4 half-step celestial beings with one move. The three of them were shocked and knew that this was an opponent that they could not defeat. Moreover, the glorious aura of the desert universe was still gathering here, and the aura of the stone coffin was still strengthening. Big brother Lin Yu, let's go. Qin Yi stood in front of Lin Yu and wanted to take him away, but Lin Yu did not move. Suddenly, the time around the four of them changed again, and the injuries on their bodies disappeared at this moment. Qin Yi and Lin Yuan were extremely shocked. This was not the power of healing. This was simply reversing time and space. Only Lin Xiu felt the power of time and space when he fought with Lin Yu. Now, it seemed that Lin Yu seemed to be able to control time more freely than before. Is there anything else? The corner of Lin Yu's mouth raised. This sentence was directed at the stone coffin, and it was a complete provocation. Hearing no response, Lin Yu took a step forward. At this moment, his 50,000 years of cultivation had allowed him to step into the peak of the great emperor of equalization. At this moment, Lin Yu was already 3 feet away from the stone coffin. You are afraid of the 3 essences in one because you are afraid of the celestial being realm. But if you cultivate the 3 essences in one and step into the great emperor of equalization, You will have the combat strength of a celestial being. Lin Yu seemed to be talking to himself, but his hand was already pressed on the stone coffin. Once again, a terrifying pressure came from the stone coffin. Under this pressure, the cultivation of the 3 half-step celestial beings was suppressed. Just as Lin Yuan instinctively felt, the stone coffin was a perfect celestial being. There was a world of difference between it and half-step celestial beings like them. Lin Yu's right hand was directly destroyed and turned into ashes. But in the next moment, the time and space value was activated again, and he was as good as new and was once again an inch closer. Every time he died, Lin Yu could reset his arm again. Finally, he touched the stone coffin. It's time for you and me to meet. The cultivation of the 3 essences in one and the peak of the great Emperor realm erupted with all his strength. Lin Yu blasted out with his palm, and the strongest palm transformed from the 8 great void dragons directly shattered the stone coffin. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.